Ready?
That's about the only key.
We'll call this regular meeting of the Stanley City Council to order. Please note we have 5 council people here, plus 1 on the phone. Also here is our city attorney, our city auditor, our P&Z director, and our chief of police. For the record, these meetings are recorded. If you wish to address the council, please come up to the podium. Make sure the green light's on. And we'll start out. The first item on the agenda is the public hearing for the Greenstone Archibald properties.
Sorry, I have to get in here.
Okay, while Kendra's getting fixed up, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. So what you're seeing right now on the screen is the 540 pictures that I took in July on the 22nd of basically every room that we could get safely into between the 2 buildings. Anywhere from storage buildings, there are numerous pictures of the landings. Right now, sorry, that one's a blurry one. I meant to take that out. Kind of just showing, I was taking pictures of the electrical because I wanted to see it. There is some fire suppression in there. You'll see those. Mostly, you will see varying levels of completion in all of the different units. The ones to the the west side of the bigger building are a little bit more completed than the east side. These are all of the bigger building, just taking pictures that there are no railings for safety. That's kind of showing a little bit of the parking lot and overgrown. So it will just cycle through. I think we have like 27 minutes when we converted it to the video, so you guys can just kind of see that as you go. There are numerous, just like I was talking in my report, there are numerous birds that live in the buildings. We did find different types of animal feces also. There has been numerous people obviously in the buildings. There's broken windows. All the doors have been kicked at the doorknobs, so they're not able to function properly. Some of the patio windows are kind of like a full length window, kind of like ours over here on the door. Some of those are broke. We were not able to go, oh, that's a nice picture. We were not able to go into very many units in the smaller of the 2 buildings. As you guys know, that northwest side on the upper part has come off in the wind. It continues to kind of sag on that whole side where the landing is for the 2nd floor. So it is definitely not safe. We did go on some of the units on the south side. They have mostly construction materials in them and some, of course, animal feces and decay. We also looked, some of these are the houses or the units right now. We did look in the garages too. The garages have a lot of construction materials. Interesting enough, none of those are bothered. They all look to be in the same condition that they were when they were brought on site. But it kind of just gives you an idea of what they look like. There looked like to be there's some of the more done units. There did look to be some water damage on the 3rd floor on the ceilings. There was a lot of discoloration. You could see some running where things had run down the walls in the different areas. So that's kind of a lot of those pictures. Well, that's another good one. I apologize. There was 547 and I deleted some of the blurry ones. So that's just kind of what we're looking at. You're looking at where fire suppression heads would come out. Just taking pictures of those, making sure that I'm getting everything that's relevant. We didn't see any animals in there alive. There were some dead birds and a couple live birds that came out and spooked us a little bit, but other than that, it's mostly just feces.
So I guess I can provide a little bit more to supplement Amanda and get started a little more supplementing. Thank you. We can go through what the hearing packet kind of looks like that's been provided to you for this hearing here today. This will have different items that we'll work through in addition to what Amanda has already mentioned. I'm going to start with what was provided as item number 10 to the council, which is a memo drafted just to give you all an overview of what our ordinances state towards dangerous buildings. We're here because at the previous meeting, you all voted to accept Amanda's report of noncompliance according to our ordinances, which means that under our Stanley Code of Ordinances, we'd have a dangerous building hearing. So this is all under our Chapter 10, Article 2. For the city of Stanley, what it means if a building should be repaired is that if a building is able to be reasonably repaired, so that it can no longer exist in violation of our Chapter 10, Article 2. Ordering a business or a building to be vacated would mean you'd have to make a finding that the building or condition of the building is dangerous to health, morals, safety, or general welfare of the occupants. Demolition generally means that it's more than 50% damaged or decayed, or that it's deteriorated from the original value or structure, that it then should be demolished. Another thing that leads to demolition would be a finding by the council that the building cannot be repaired so that it will no longer, no repairs would make it, help it be in compliance with our ordinances, or that the building is a fire hazard, and that it needs to be demolished due to it being a fire hazard. I've listed on this memo as well, there's 10 different factors under our Code of Ordinances that deem a building to be dangerous. I'll let you read through those yourselves, but they do include buildings that are in a violation of any building code of the city, fire prevention code, or other ordinance of the city. Generally a building that's unsafe, unsanitary, dangerous to the health, morals, safety, or welfare of the people of Stanley. If the building has a part that's so attached that it may fall and injure members of the public or property. If there's not a means to escape properly, if there is a fire or insufficient stairways, elevators, fire escapes, issues with light and air, sanitation that's inadequate to provide for the health, morals, safety, or general welfare, something that's become so dilapidated, decayed, unsafe, or unsanitary where they cannot provide for essential living or essential to decent living for human habitation, as well as those damaged by fire, wind, or other causes. Those are just some of the factors that go into determining if a building is dangerous under the City of Stanley ordinances. So the City Council here, you've gone through what I've listed as number 1. You gave notice to everyone of the hearing that we're here for tonight to discuss if these structures of Greenstone Properties and Archibald Family Trust should be deemed a dangerous building, and the finding of whether they should be repaired, vacated, or demolished. As well as tonight we're here to hear testimony from the building inspector on this, as well as any owners, occupants, mortgagees, lessee, someone who has an interest in the building is able to give testimony to whether why the building should not be found a dangerous building. So tonight you can do a few things after this hearing. You can choose to continue this matter if needed for a period of time. You can set forth an agreement as to a construction or demolition schedule and require time checkpoints as to the buildings. You can deem the property to be a dangerous property, and then you need to work with the property owner on repairs until you reach some sort of conclusion. If you state that it should not be demolished but repaired, that you're working with them, setting checkpoints and schedule for those repairs, or you can deem the property to be a dangerous building and demolish the building. You're able to make a separate decision as to each of the buildings because there are 2 separate buildings in existence out there that are in different varying states, which we'll get to Amanda about. And I will let Amanda talk a little bit to it. In your packet, you will see that there are 3 inspection reports. An inspection report that came from Amanda as the building inspector and code enforcement agent, an inspection report from the Stanley Police Department, and an inspection report from the fire department. All of these are required under our city ordinances. I'll let Amanda speak to her report that was done of the inspection of the property on July 22nd of 2021 and some of the findings that you made during that inspection.
Thank you. So I know that you guys have seen the report before, just a little update, and you guys have copies of it. The buildings, the bigger of the 2 building is a little bit more completed, obviously. I did find that it is not ADA compliant. I don't know. I believe that was approved that way in the very beginning. So I'm not really sure what we can do about that. None of the units were locked or secured, including windows, balcony doors, et cetera. We kind of looked at that in some of the pictures. There are no railways, as you're seeing right here, no railways on the balconies, on the main areas to get to the apartment doors, which would be on the north side of the building. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, fire suppression are all kind of in different stages according to the units of completion. The exhaust fans, they don't have any penetrations through the roofs, which means I don't really know where they're going to end up venting those to. Obviously, you can't vent to an attic. You're going to get mold and such. So they would have to make penetrations through the roof for the 2nd and 3rd floor apartments. The pigeons were observed. You can see a lot of the pictures have some darkening areas on the cement floors. That is pigeon feces for the most part. There are some raccoon and what we thought may be rat, though we did not see any of those, just the pigeons. There is some cracking and settling along the areas. There's a lot of cement work in that building, but on the stairways, on the landings, there was a couple units on the east side that have a lot of pop-offs on the floors. So that would kind of need to be repaired because they look very much like they are starting to kind of deteriorate. On the 3rd floor units, as I mentioned earlier, there is some water damages on some of the ceilings. You can see the rundown even over down the walls. And it looks like there was just kind of, general construction debris, trash materials, et cetera, like kind of all throughout all of the units and through kind of those main floor storage units. These are all the garages that you're kind of seeing. As I was mentioning, they are full of construction materials, but they are not locked and they are easily accessible. We opened every single one of them between the chief and I, just pushing up on the doors, even though they're supposed to be secured. The smaller of the 2 buildings, and I don't think we've got to that in the pictures yet, during the week of January 11th of 2021, we did have those multiple days of high winds. And so that northeast section of that, I think it ends up being really the 2nd floor, the top of the ceiling, did come off, as did part of those units right there. The wind has continued since January to kind of wreak havoc on that building. And it's kind of, some of it's come off, some of it's actually hanging over the east side of the building. We were able to go into the 1st floor units on the south side. They have mostly been construction area, kind of a area for people in the community. They kind of dump their trash up there. There's old TVs, there's old boxes and things full of garbage and stuff up there in those. Also, no railings, no stairways, none of those doors are secured either. And then the security fence mostly is down for the most part. The posts don't actually go into the ground. So they're basically just kind of like on an X-shaped set of 2x4s. And then the post kind of comes out of that. So it's like easily movable, but it doesn't sustain the winds of North Dakota. So for the most part, since 2017, when that fence did go up, it has not been securing anything. So it has continued to be a safety hazard. I had mentioned to Kendra, earlier in the week that as I was driving through John Ryan, it looks like there has been people on site recently. There's footprints in the snow. One of the garage doors is open. Some of the windows on the north side that the chief and I, as we walked through the apartments earlier in July, we made sure to close all the windows that were open. They're open again. Some of them are broken. Some of the balcony doors are broken on the south side. And then, all 4 of the lots, because it actually goes back to those big mounds of dirt on the north side, all of them are overgrown. There's construction debris kind of strewn within. And there's actually 2 sets of the actual pads for new apartment buildings back there. The one behind the smaller of the 2 buildings is a little bit more complete. So it's got your temporary plumbing coming up through your foundation. The other one is just behind the bigger of the 2 buildings, just has the footers, and they filled in with dirt to make it kind of grade level a little bit safer back there. So that's kind of what we all determined as we were inspecting.
Amanda, I guess if we could go, and I know these are contained in the packet, just to refresh, when was the original permit applied for by Greenstone?
So the
Properties?
original permit was February 3rd of 2014. And through my research, I did see it was approved. And then it was, I apologize, my mind just went blank. It was extended through March of 2016 by my predecessor. In the international codes, it does say that the building official does have the ability to extend a active building permit under my discretion up to 180 days, so 6 months. He did extend for, I think, right at a year. That was up to his discretion. I don't want to pretend that I know what he was thinking when he did that. He made a judgment call, and I'm okay with that. They did get a variance for the height at that time of the original building permit. When I came in 2016, work was wrapping up kind of in the fall. And then there was no work being done probably from about October, November of 2016. They did want to go ahead and reapply for a building permit in the fall of 2017. With speaking with our council, we did have them go ahead and fill that out, run it through planning and zoning and through the city council. We did a conditional building permit, is in your packet. It's 80-17. So that was approved in November of 2017. Conditional, having conditions of all contractors and subcontractors must apply for a general contractor's license. That way we know that they're licensed and insured. The construction fence is required around the site, including the 2 buildings and the 2 foundations. All construction material are to be moved within that fence line and to remain inside the fence line until all the construction is completed. All 4 lots need to be cleaned of trash and debris, mowed and maintained at 8 inches or less as required by the city ordinance. And on the northeast foundation, cap all the sewer clean out pipes so unnecessary moisture does not continue to enter into our sanitary sewer line. They started in the springtime, obviously. They were served with a cease and desist in, I apologize, I don't have it right here. I believe it was May, because they had not cleaned up the lots. They did do that, so the building permit was reinstated. The next month, everything started to grow again. Asked them to go ahead and clean that up. They did not. They were served another cease and desist, and at that time, work stopped. So then their building permit ended up expiring in the fall of 2018, and there has been no work done. So now we started the dangerous building process just because it continues to get worse.
So as to your knowledge, Amanda, has anyone applied for a permit since the 2018 one ceased to exist or was revoked?
No, ma'am, there's not been anyone applied.
Is there any work that you know of that's occurred on either of the properties since 2018?
No.
Do you know when the last work occurred on the property?
I believe it was June of 2018. And that's when they were talking about the ventilation fans in the bathrooms. And once they realized that they were going to have to penetrate through the roof, that kind of slowed everything down.
I will let the council know that we have followed the process that is according to the City of Stanley Code on this matter. We're at the point where originally in April of this year, I know our firm, prior to myself at First F being the city attorney, one of the prior attorneys had reached out to contacts back in 2016. I could find records of letters sent out regarding which likely led to the 2017 and 18 fence being put up and conditional permit. We're back again because this year in around April, well, first in January of 2021, and Amanda can speak to this, there was a storm that occurred that created significant damage as well as a hazard to surrounding properties. If you'd want to explain how that came about.
Right. So it was those couple days that we had that very extreme wind. So the smaller of the two buildings is a 2-story, as the larger is a 3-story. So the 2-story building is not quite as complete on the outside. You still have those styrofoam panels. And on the northeast edge of that, kind of towards the middle of the building on that second floor, the roof peeled back. That area kind of crumbled to the side. And as the winds continue to blow, it just kind of continues to blow all over the place. On site, I think there was a little bit off of the site too. Still some dangling off the edge. But that has made that unsafe. And then that second floor landing kind of bows down almost like the back of a spoon. So that has definitely, there's some weight issues on that side of the building also. So I don't know if it's settling or what it would be. That's would be something for an engineer to determine.
So under our code of ordinances on 10.0204, Amanda is required to inspect or caused to be inspected semi-annually several different types of buildings. This includes the buildings here, the apartment buildings, or multifamily, I guess, buildings, to determine whether they are a dangerous building or whether such buildings are to code. That was requested permission somewhere back this spring, I believe, between April and June. A letter went out to the property owners. We did not receive a response as to the request for Amanda's inspection. Therefore, there was an application for the administrative search warrant, which was executed on the property, applied for and granted by the judge, which led to her to comply with subsection 2. She inspected the structures that were there along with the fire. Police department both went, which is under subsection 3. At that point, a letter was sent out, which is a part of your packet here, which would have been back in September. I apologize. I'm just going to scroll back to my letter that was sent out. I have to go back a little bit. That was sent out, I believe, on the 22nd of September, 21st or 22nd of September, stating that the building was inspected. It is in violation of the City of Stanley ordinances. These are the issues, what it does not comply for, and as well as the location. And then it states that they are required, as with our, after receiving notice, as with our ordinances, the City of Stanley ordinances set aside that it must be brought to code, repaired, vacated, demolished, etc., within 30 days. As necessary to do so once they receive, once the notice has gone out to the owners or interest holders. That went out. We do have return receipts, which are a part of your packet. The receipts that came back were all from interest holders who had construction liens. These construction liens, I will note, are all over 3 years old that they were returned on. We do have return receipts from the owners on these properties, as well as a mortgage holder. At this point in time, it directed them to contact Amanda as to a process. We did not receive a response within those 30 days, hence the letter stating that or when Amanda took it before you at the last meeting to city council, asking you to set a hearing. Then Alin would have sent out the notice once again to all of the interest holders of tonight's hearing. We did receive the request for continuance, which you all heard at the last council meeting, that was denied on the property. The property has been posted since the inspection was done. It is posted on all of the buildings, a no trespass warning, which is required under our Stanley city ordinances. They remain on the buildings to this day. So we have complied with, Amanda has complied with all of the requirements under section 10.0204 for the properties. I guess if anyone has any questions for Amanda as to this or what she's presented on, you can certainly do that, or I guess if you would like to wait until the end after
Probably.
interest holders.
Is there anybody here who wishes to speak? Is there some Greenstone reps here?
I'll speak for Greenstone, but I'd rather speak after your public, and if there's any public complaint besides Amanda that I haven't heard yet.
I guess,
I'm just saying if there's anybody that.
is there any council questions as of right now for Amanda or Kendra?
Sorry, there's a lot of them. I apologize. They're not very exciting, but necessary.
Okay,
I'll go this way then. I'll just leave this on. Is that okay? That way the next person.
you want to come up?
Sure. I didn't come here to get shot or anything.
Okay, no.
I understand the situation. I am an owner as of very recent, and I'll explain that situation so that you know. I'm very good friends with all of the owners that own Greenstone. I know them well. I'm a broker in northern Utah.
You want to state your name?
I'm sorry,
State your name for the record.
Stephen Taylor.
Okay.
And about October, Amanda and I had a conversation of 2020. I had called her and asked her if myself and an owner could come up and talk about the property. As she stated, there'd been some cease and desist and a lot of things, and the owner and the price of oil and a lot of other issues. And I'm not going to make excuses, but the owners basically set it on hold and just let it sit since that time. So I had told Jeff, I said, you know, you really need to go up and get that taken care of and finish that. And there was something that took, I don't remember, but we couldn't get together to make the trip up here. And then when the letter came in 21 September, it went to an old address. We never saw that letter until mid-November. And that's when I originally started calling Amanda and talked to him. So when I say we, I'm talking the main group of owners. Okay, never saw that. So we find ourselves in this situation. They very much want to finish the project, period. They want to do what's necessary, whether they apply for a conditional building permit that has steps that need to be taken care of. Everything that you're citing is accurate. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try and say nothing's accurate, but it's in the middle of construction. So it is not to code. It won't be to code until it's completed. And that's pretty sound. I mean, that's a sound statement. So the other thing is the damage. I can only put my apology forward and say, I'm sorry that it's in the situation it is, but it is, and we don't have a owner on site that would have seen it and maybe tried to resolve it at the time. So it's set, and I'm sure there's been a thorn in Amanda's side and other people's side, and we apologize for that. The work that needs to be done requires a specialized gunite crew. We have those crews operating all the time. We can bring that crew up here and we can do that. Temperature is a factor, heating the building is a factor, and timing is a factor. So My suggestion would be that we come to the site. First of all, I contacted Dakota Fence just yesterday and asked them about coming and repairing our perimeter fence and getting that. We got a bid for that. And he said that he can do it even into the winter. So we're in the process of making sure that the fencing is appropriate so that people can't wander onto the site and get hurt. The other thing then would be to get an actual conditional permit that doesn't have a cease and desist attached to it, that allows us to move forward on those things that would make it a safer environment to be able to take down the corner of that building. The building looks atrocious to most people that will go by. I'll be honest with you, it's terrible, but it's easily remedied. The construction process is they probably already told you, or if they didn't, but it's a foam core wire mesh stucco and plaster wall system, and it can easily be remedied and taken care of. And we want to do that. So we just need to sit down. I've been in your place. I was on the city council of Logan, Utah for 4 years. I know that you have some tough decisions to make, but we would like to provide the surety to you, let you know that we're going to do this, and then take the steps to do that and work in close concert with Amanda to make sure that it's done. I'm going to be the front person that does that, and I'm a problem solver, and we'll make it happen. So.
Okay. Questions?
When would you envision a time that it'd be done?
I think immediately some things need to be done to clean up the site. I talked to somebody locally about cutting weeds down. They said, well, you're crazy to go out and try to cut weeds during summer. I'm sure there's some device that can take the weeds down. We'll find out what that is, and we can do that if it doesn't get 4 feet of snow on top of it. But the safety issues, get the site cleaned up, get it rid of the bio issues that, clean the bird's nest and the miscellaneous stuff, so get it cleaned up. There, as I walk through it, you can see everybody's been scrapping and going through the building. The things that were contained are uncontained and dumped all over the place. It needs to be recontained. It needs to be locked up. It needs to be taken care of. We can get a crew in here and get that done and go forward and make it a positive situation. I don't want, I don't want to sit here and overpromise. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to make it happen tomorrow, because I can't make it happen tomorrow. I don't have manpower here right now, and so on. But we can sit down and work a plan, whether it be through Amanda, or do we bring it back to council, Amanda? I don't know. It's up to council, I guess. But we can put a plan together. And I would think that condition is, as I heard you say, there was conditions before. They tried to take care of some of them, but they evidently didn't. And I say we write those conditions down. Those conditions should include things that need to be done right now. But we do need to realize it's an ongoing construction project. And so some of those will be taken care of in the course of construction. But you're absolutely right. It needs to be fenced off, cordoned off, locked up, and secured, so that you guys are just worried about the public and their health and safety, and I understand that 100%. So.
Go ahead.
Sure.
A while back, the city, the public works crew, and Amanda went over there to clean up all the mess that was blowing across other people's property. And whoever was in charge at that time threatened the city with filing trespass charges on
No.
cleaning up the mess.
I don't know who that was. Like I said, was it somebody that was who was it? Do you have a name?
I would have to look up the name, but it was the direction from, what came from one of the owners.
It came from an owner?
Mhm.
Well,
They told us that we actually got notice from their lawyer.
I'm not aware of that. I can assure you that's not going to be the case going forward. I was not aware of that. and I apologize if that was done. We need to work in unison to get things taken care of. That's just all there is to it. Thank you for that input, though.
Other questions?
If I could ask a question, and maybe this would help clarify for members, do you have hard deadlines that are hard numbers you could give us as to a time frame? I think that might help the council members understand, I guess, what you say by we're going to move forward in this sort of way.
Okay, there,
I need to ask, I mean, I would like to ascertain.
you're
that.
fine. You can ask that. That's appropriate. We've sat down and talked to 3 different financial institutions to get a solid construction loan. They're not going to issue a construction loan without some of those hard numbers. We're putting together those numbers. Some of those numbers were prepared before all this rummaging and stuff took place. There is additional costs that we're going to incur because we haven't properly secured the property. I guess that's the easiest thing to say. So we've got to look at those numbers, make sure that's done, and then go forward and take care of that. I would say that within 30 days, we would have financial insight as to our construction loan capabilities to finish the project.
Other questions?
But to back up, I'm not advocating that we sit on our heels for 30 days. I think we need to get a Dakota Fence Company to come in and secure the perimeter soon. When I say soon, he sent me a form that I've got to fill out and send back to him. He said that he would give us a date. I don't know what that date is. And like I said, I'm not privileged to know what North Dakota weather's like, but he told me he could do it into the winter without a problem.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess I had a couple kind of comments, obviously, as a council member, we're all tasked with offering the surety to our constituents that, we either going to get this remedied, because it looks atrocious as I'd also like to thank you for coming up and being here. That's one of the things that I've noticed is the lack of communication. And so we're tasked with either the status quo where we keep kicking the can down the road and this thing keeps falling, obviously one building's in further disrepair than the other. But I need some surety that depending on what we do, me not being a structural engineer, I need the surety that if there is a path forward on either of these structures, will they still be structurally sound? That's one thing I need to know.
Right.
Depending on, I don't want to just put lipstick on a pig, if, I can't say which way this is going to go, but I don't know if that can be remedied or not. And I'm not a specialist, but my personal feeling is if there's some sort of a path forward that would increase, make that appealing to the eye and useful compared to what we've seen, that's really what I'd need to, to make sure that, I'm voting in favor of what's gonna be the best for this community. Right now I'm terrified a kid is gonna go in there and
I
fall
agree.
off and get shish kebab by, rebar sticking out of the ground. It's just an absolute, scary scenario. So, that's really what we're tasked with. Whatever we decide, is it the public can be safe or is it gonna get fenced off and just sit there? That's what I really need to know. Can this ball be moved? And if not, then we have to think of plan B.
Right. And I agree with you, Ty. I think we sit down with whoever council and mayor gives us direction to sit down with. And we set those timeframes out and we say, this is going to be done by this date, this will be done by this date and so on. And it's merely a management process. It needs to be taken care of. I didn't need to be there too many minutes to know what. I thank Amanda for meeting me there and giving me the opportunity to walk through it for a minute. But after I walked through 2 or 3 of the areas, I could tell what we need to do. And we need to come in there, clean it up, number 1, and have it ready to go. Fence it off, number 2, secure it so that it's a secure facility and then you're not worrying about your general public. And then and go forward a step at a time. So there's a lot more there than meets the eye. A lot of the cabinetry's there, a lot of the toilets, there is a ton of materials there needs to be installed and taken care of and fired up, so to speak. And we could have the 12-plex could be functional. The concrete drives are in. I mean, it could be functional probably early summer, I would think, if we got the right crews in here and got it done. The other one's going to take a little longer. I would dare say it might go into the next year, but I'm not sure about that. So
You an equal owner?
not a majority owner. I'm only a 10% owner of the property, but I have a equal say. I've worked with these gentlemen for many years. They're good. I know them well, and they have the ability to take care of this and make it right. And in my discussions with them, they sent me up to say, go up and make it right, do what we have to do to get this done. So, and I didn't come up here just to spew words at you. I came up here to give our genuine concern about it and say we're going to take care of it. And as Amanda will tell you, I called you a number of times, and I would be on the number. You're welcome to call me at any time. I carry a cell phone. I answer it. Okay. All of you can call me anytime and I can give you an update. Do you want me to give you the number? 435-232-3890. And my name's Stephen Taylor, and my wife will tell you she thinks the phone's implanted in my head because I'm on it all the time. So call me. But I'm sincere about that. And I know that Amanda's done an excellent job at reviewing it. I'm knock on wood that something serious hasn't happened. We just need to get it resolved.
Any other questions? I guess I've got a couple.
Go ahead,
Um,
Mayor.
You know, I was somewhat prepared to call for bids to tear the dang place down tonight.
Right.
Because this has been going on for,
I
well,
understand.
it started in 14
Right.
and restarted in 17, and nothing happened after 18. So it's been over 3 years since anything's happened out there, except the mess, which all them surrounding neighbors got to look at every day.
Yeah.
Out there, nice windows.
Yeah.
If the council decides to give you a permit to go back in there, I would say there'd have to be some serious timelines on it. The
Exactly.
first one would be the fence has got to be done in 2 weeks or a month.
Right.
That's number one. If you think that east one is salvageable, just driving by, I don't look like it to me, but that's up
is.
to a structural engineer.
Just so you know, early on in the project, my son and I hauled most of that panel up here to your valley. It's the design and how you put it together is easily remedied. Now, a lot of you have seen that big concrete beam that lays down to the one side. They're encased by concrete beams, and then they're shot and they're knitted together. And literally, some of these units, you can lift them up with a forklift and move them because they're all structurally sound and tied together. So I'm sure that Amanda will require that a structural engineer look at that corner, and we're fine to make sure that that's taken care of, because it does appear to be sagging a little bit, as she pointed out today when I was there. So we'll do what is necessary to make sure that that's done and resolved.
Okay. So along with that, if we did decide you'd have to apply for another building permit.
Exactly.
And like I said, the fence would have to be number one. You know, right now, all them railings everything's wide open, and we
Right.
know the kids have been in there playing.
Right.
You know, so it's partway on the city's responsibility to do something with
Right.
it.
And at best, we could maybe put some temporary rails up on those openings to keep things from getting out.
Well, a
of hand.
good fence would help.
Yep.
One other question I'd have would be, if we do give you a building permit, is it legally possible to require a bond or a letter of credit from you guys?
I already talked to a bank about that because I knew you'd probably ask that when I came here. I talked to Cache Valley Bank. The gentleman's name is Brent Wallace, if you'd like to call him and ask him. I asked him about the bank providing a letter of credit. He said, yes, we can, but With a letter of credit comes the surety of completing the project.
Right.
So we have to provide him the construction costs just like anybody else to say, okay, here's what our costs are, here's what it is. And yes, he'll provide a letter of credit. I wouldn't be able to get that for 30 to 45 days.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm just being,
I would think that would have to be one of the conditions of construction
sure,
and have it payable to the city of Stanley because somebody's gonna pay to tear it down if it
exactly.
happens again.
Right.
And the last question I have, all the liens that are out there from the former contractors, are they gonna get paid?
Now, correct me, I don't know all the details of that. I will find that out.
Well, it's
There was a
all,
$40,000 lien on the property.
There's
But-
more than that.
What you got?
So there's different liens on all of the properties. I will note that most of these, Strata did after, I had a conversation with Strata. They called 6 days after I sent the letter out. They signed the slip immediately and their attorney called me, was very informative. They realized that their construction lien was over 3 years old, so they would not be able to, under North Dakota law, they could try renew it or try to make a suit on it, but that is the statutory deadline. They did file a satisfaction on the 8th of last month. It would have been recorded. But there are around, I have them by parcel number. So parcel 6100939937, which looks like that is lot 27, has 2 mortgages. And 5 liens. I do not have the amount of the liens on here. I have a separate Excel spreadsheet at my office with those on it. 9, the one that's ending in 3939, 2 mortgages.
Yeah, those mortgages, just so you know, there's only actually one mortgage on the property.
I have to tell you that I have to go by what's recorded. So
no, yeah, I
I've heard
understand.
from the other property, but without me seeing a recorded document, I
Right.
have to inform the city that through my legal research, it's still of record.
Totally understand. I'm not questioning what you've done. What I'm saying is they have several $1 million into the project and one of the owners placed a back lien on the property to cover his personal investment of the property. So it's not an official mortgage. It appears to be a note, but it's just to the owner. There is an official mortgage, one mortgage that I'm aware of, that we're working through the bank with that owner to see what we can do. So we're in that process. And so if you can provide me any liens that are unrecorded or that we don't know about,
I can't, I mean,
well,
if
I
it's
can,
unrecorded, I don't know how I would find it.
well,
or
yeah,
how
that's
you
what
would
I'm saying.
find
I
it.
don't know either.
These are all of record.
Yeah.
With Montreal County.
Okay.
Through a title search.
Well, then I can get the same information.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. But yes, the answer is we would, I mean, in order to get the construction financing, all those have to be satisfied anyways or reconveyed. And that's what we'll do.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
if I may just point one thing out, Mr. Taylor had said that they would like to finish the bigger of the 2 buildings first, with the smaller of the 2 buildings maybe being the beginning of the following year. That would be something that would need to be taken into consideration because a certificate of occupancy would have to be given for that bigger building by myself. But there will also be it's a shared entrance into that complex. The buildings just kind of divide left to right, but it would also be an active construction site. So if it kind of needs to be taken into consideration by yourselves, is it going to be an all or nothing type of thing? Or are you going to have some kind of separation that is safe for the tenants or the people that would be living in that finished building while the building right next door within 25 feet of it is under construction?
Let me clarify that.
I'm sorry?
The buildings are not attached, just the.
No,
Just the
just the
drive-
shared driveway.
Right.
Yes.
Let me clarify that, Amanda. I didn't mean that we would just let it sit while we completed the other building.
Okay.
We have to come in and take care of those issues with the hanging materials and get that all cleared up. When we bring the gunite crew does 2 things. The interior walls are plastered. They end up looking just like this, but they're a cement wall right now. they end up getting a white plaster coat over the top of them. It ends up looking just like sheetrock. So that'll be done. That same gunite crew does the rough work, which is the cement base. We would have them up there taking care of that other building, finishing that. And as soon as we were done with this, we would move over, because we're not going to bring that gunite crew back and forth like 5 times. So we would get all the plaster work, all the gunite work, all the secured, wall, all that out of the way initially. That's what we would focus on. So it wouldn't just be sitting there. And then the only I was just saying, at the stage the 12plex is in, I can see that being finished ahead. And then this one would be finished. I would hope it wouldn't go into next, 23. I would hope we could do it all in 22 and be done. There's also some boundary line adjustments that we discussed that need to be taken care of. I'm very familiar with that. We're talking about how to redefine that and fix the boundary line issue.
Right. What he's mentioning is the bigger of the two buildings. About 1/3 on the east side of the bigger of the two buildings is actually over the property line that the smaller of the two buildings is on. So there's 4 lots. 2 of them share all of the buildings. There's a smaller lot to the east and a smaller lot up towards Old Highway 2. So that would have to be reconfigured somehow.
And I'll be taking care of that personally, making sure that those
Okay.
are
So that would have to be a replat through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
right.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead. You go first. Dave.
No, go first, you got the brains.
If this is something you're leaning towards or you guys are considering repairing, and these are all good points that we've discussed here tonight, if your decision is to allow repair, my recommendation would be that you allow Amanda and you allow the information to come from Greenstone, getting your letter of credit, showing us what your plans are, and that we come up with a stipulation and an agreement with those deadlines and the steps that need to occur, a compromise agreement and stipulation as to this is how we're moving forward. These are the conditions that need to be met. A structural engineer needs to check it out. Health department needs to come in because you do have significant animal feces that are in there, and that's significant health hazard along with the mold. The health department is going to need to take a look at that for the safety of your contractors as well. I think an agreement like that's overarching, if we could present that back to the council and to Greenstone and say, this is what we're both coming to the table with. These are the hard deadlines. That's well within your parameters of allowing someone to repair a building, if that's your decision by the city council.
And just one of the owners owns an asbestos mitigation company, which they deal with hazardous waste all the time, and they have to deck themselves out to clean up. We would probably come in and actually do a cleanup of the site with the use of their experience.
Dave?
One thing I
Go
demand
ahead.
that you present is an inspection report and how many OSHA violations you have in that 2 properties also.
I don't know of any, but Amanda could tell us. Do we have OSHA violations? What's going on?
Handrails are the first one.
Oh, well, yeah.
Handrails
I
and
want
But-
to
such.
see
yeah.
how many OSHA violations.
Yeah, that would be a violation because it should be in place during construction. You're exactly right. Okay. So we need to look at that. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? I guess I'd rather see it on the tax rolls than the city tearing it down and it goes on the tax thing and it's gonna be gone. If we give you 30 days to come back with a building, because the building P and Z bunch is way tougher than we are.
Okay.
He's sitting back there.
That-
I think he's still
This one
awake.
right here behind you. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
No, we'll do what we need to do to make sure that it's taken care of.
and we'll have to come up with an amount for the letter of credit. I'm
Yep.
thinking $500,000 for sure.
I said 300,000, but if it needs to be $500,000, we can tell them that.
Because somebody's gonna
So-
charge us that to tear it down
Okay.
and haul it away.
We've done this on other projects and we haven't done this, ignore a project, but we've had to produce letter of credit
And
before.
hopefully you guys will be easier to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Amanda, let me
I
know
gave
if
you
it-
my phone number.
Yep.
You can call it anytime.
Okay.
And I will make sure that whatever word, that it gets where it needs to go. okay?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes,
I guess the question for Kendra, should the agreement be in place before they apply for a building permit?
Yes, I think that we need to sit down and have the settlement agreement, or excuse me, stipulation and compromise agreement in terms sent out, draw them up and have them sent out. I can have the council review it by the next council meeting, and I can have it sent out to the ownership groups at Greenstone. So there is one lot that's owned by Archibald Family Trust. Obviously, they would need to see the agreement as well, and you would need adequate time for you all to review that.
Right.
It's an
So-
agreement.
So that precludes us from doing any work on the property until that agreement's written, which will be
Unless,
30+ days. I don't think that's wise.
so I meet back here, we meet right here. We will likely have a special council meeting the first week of January,
Next
which
week.
is next
or
week.
that's January, yeah.
So that's 2 weeks for me to draw up an agreement. That's not holding anyone back because you have things that you need to get in line from what you've said today. If the fence, if that, you get that secured to go up, I'm sure, because it's posted right now, no trespassing. I would say that Amanda would let you or give you discretion to allow the company on to put up that fence
That's fine.
because it needs to be secured. I'm not holding anyone back.
Well, I just
But-
want to be sure we could do things, is all.
Well, nothing else if there's a no trespass sign up at this point. But I mean, as soon as that agreement gets drafted, council will review it here at the special meeting. I'll send it out. You'll need to provide updated contact information so I can get that out to the
We can do
proper
that.
ownership groups. Circulate that, both parties review. I don't see that. I don't foresee that taking a long time because there seems to be similar goals
It's-
from what you've stated.
It's going to take longer to get the letter of credit and the
Yep.
financing done than that, probably.
Are the property taxes up to date or are they in arrears?
No,
They're 3 years in arrears.
Are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, in the financing, it'll have to be taken care of, and it will.
Okay.
And that can certainly be something that's addressed in the agreement as well, if that's a concern. Obviously, we'd have concern.
That to me would be they have to be 100% up to date.
And they will be. A bank's not going to loan us anything with taxes
so
in
is there
arrears.
anything this council needs to do tonight then?
I mean, you can certainly take what we've heard here tonight under advisement unless you think that you're ready to make one of the determinations that you're allowed to make under ordinance. Excuse me. It would be 10.020 or not 10.0202, actually under 10.0205, because you've heard hearing now. You can make findings of fact. They'd be drawn up obviously after the hearing, but you can make a determination of whether you believe or should order that it should be repaired, vacated, or demolished. If you need to take it under consideration, we can put that on the special council agenda for your
Yep.
decision.
What do you think?
You looking for a motion?
Well, I don't know, do we need to do anything?
Well, you can make a motion tonight if you want to allow them that opportunity to repair.
Okay,
And you could make a motion that it would be subject to stipulation between the two parties, as well as the condition to receive that.
and 30 days? The next council meeting is
14th.
14th of
Sorry,
January.
it's before that. It's the 9th, I think.
I believe it's the 9th.
Nice.
So who am I working with to structure the stipulation agreement?
I will send it out to
Yeah.
the city attorney's office.
So are you going to put the line items in there and then send it out for
Yep.
review?
Yep, it'll be a document, so you can have it reviewed by your attorneys
But-
if you'd like.
Well, that's fine, and we will, but what I'm saying is if we disagree with what's in there and want to add something, or
Come back and counter us with it.
that's what I said.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that was,
The council meeting is January 11th.
Okay,
okay.
okay,
I'll come back to that council meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
might be colder then.
I know, it's cold up here. I've been here when it's cold.
I mean, as far as where I'm sitting, I mean, if I can look at this and know that these properties can be rectified and be not a nuisance and be safe for our public. I'd much rather see that happen, but I also want to have an off-ramp. If this thing gets off-center again, I mean, we've got the paperwork drawn up to protect the city's interest. It's not that hard to make a hard left turn and then, go with a
Well, that'll
different
be in the
option,
stipulation agreement, I would assume.
And that's where, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but maybe we can give this another shake. It seems a little like deja
Well,
vu, but
I think the letter of credit's a big thing because
Yes.
that's, now you've got a financial obligation.
Yeah.
And it's payable to the city of Stanley to use for reclamation up there.
I won't go into all the numbers, but you'd be amazed at the amount of money we have in the project already.
Yeah.
It would be a shame to tear it down.
Go to
So-
Vegas.
Okay? So I guess we need a motion to give them 30 days to get some of this paperwork filed. That's all right? To work with Amanda or Kendra? Or how do you
So
want
do
to
you
say
want
it?
to do you want to take this under consideration until you receive the stipulation? So would you like to table this until the next
I
meeting?
guess that's where.
That'd be good.
I'd rather
Yep.
take it under consideration
Okay,
and have it tabled until we see those stipulations. and
okay,
Yep.
Some hard deadlines. Also within that stipulation that the act of negotiating on down the road, once those stipulations are
Yep.
agreed upon are non-existent. There is no more negotiating timelines and dates and.
And,
what have you.
and allow the fence to be started whenever they can.
Yep, I would still reach out about the
The
fence.
comment, it is what it is. We need to see the stipulation agreement so that we know we can abide by it.
Yep.
I mean, you
Which will
could,
be provided to you.
that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
And what time frame?
Well, I'll have it before the special council meeting, which is on have we said it yet? Sorry.
After fifth.
Okay. If it's not before the 5th of January, it will be before the 11th when the regular meeting is.
Okay, because, well, I told you I'd be back on the 11th, but if I don't have the stipulation agreement and don't know where I am,
Yeah, I'll mail it out to you.
there's not gonna
beforehand.
be a reason to come back until I know where I
Yeah, we
stand.
understand that.
Okay, I just want to be sure. Okay,
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to table this for now. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Mr. Taylor. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
No.
Chad.
All right.
Okay, motion carried. So hopefully you can get that to them before the end of the year, so they got a little
Yep.
time.
Provide Amanda with your updated contact information before you leave. She'll circulate it to me.
okay.
Yep. And if I'll reach back out and send mail to Archibald, but I have never received anything back.
Archibalds are really not involved anymore, so
I have to send it
I
to
totally
everyone
understand.
who's
You
the
can
property
send-
owner.
you can send it to them, but I'm just saying that that's changed too.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on, minutes of the last meeting. We had two meetings, a special meeting December 9th and our regular council meeting November 9th. Are there any corrections or additions?
I do have one correction,
Okay,
and that would be to the December 9th minutes. I realized it after I sent the minutes out. It should specify for the special event liquor license. The
Oh.
date of that should have been December 11th, not November 11th.
you're right. That's what was printed on. the-
Yep, and that's why I think when we put it, we end up putting it based on the date, but yeah, that was
I
a
missed-
typo on his part, so, and then we did it in the minutes. So it
Okay.
should have been December 11th.
Any other corrections or additions?
Move to approve the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Minton. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda, the planning and zoning. We got a new guy here tonight. He's not very new, but
I'm tech savvy. Well, I'm Skip Wing. I'm the new guy. Todd cannot be here tonight. Before I give the report, could I ask a couple of questions about the previous?
Yes,
So just to kind of clarify as we go back and when we talk about it in our committee, because it sounds like it's going to come back to us again. The safety fence, is that going up immediately? Is that part of?
So the property is currently posted, so they'll need to reach out to Amanda to ask permission for allowing the company to come on to put up the safety fence. If that secures it, and Amanda feels within her discretion that that's appropriate to secure the safety and well-being of it, I do not see a reason for that to be prohibited. It might be in the best interests of everyone, but if that's something that the P&Z would like to consider, I mean, Amanda, if you would feel better about that, that's certainly an item that could be on the agenda.
If the council's okay, I can make that decision. I would feel comfortable with Dakota Fence being out there. They have worked in our community numerous times for numerous years. And I think that they do good work. So I wouldn't have any problem letting them on site temporarily, just to be able to secure it for the community.
Yeah, previous fencing projects have been very disappointing out there, to say the least. Anyway, our December 13th Planning and Zoning was our regular meeting. We had a full crew minus one. We had a lively discussion on a number of items. The first item for business was the mobile food permit. And this is to move it's Mex Mix, I think it's called, and I'm gonna mess up her name, Air Ladies Heinley, and to move the mobile food facility from where it's at by the laundromat up to the Sunshine Car Wash area. And they provided us with maps. We took a look at it, had no issues with it, and we would recommend approval of that change.
okay, any questions on the mobile food permit
Motion to approve.
by Jacob? Did you second it, Chad? Second by Chad, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next two
Opposed?
items, oh, go ahead.
Opposed, I was waiting for Zach, but
Oh,
motion carried.
okay. Well, that's right. We have one in the Ethernet here somewhere, so. The next two items we can do together, they're plats, and I think you're all familiar with getting meets and bounds brought up to plat standards to meet all the new guidelines that we have. The first one is the Stanley Community Public School District. A plat was submitted to replat their property by the high school there at 320, or excuse me, by the Quick Stop, 322 6th Avenue Southeast, from meets and bounds to a legal description in order to sell the property. The second one is Tyler and Corey Taylor. Plat was submitted to replat their property at 25 3rd Street Southeast from meets and bounds to a legal description. Passed the committee, and we would ask the council to do the same.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Mr. Hishson, is there a second?
Okay, I would prefer to do these plats as separate motions.
Okay,
So if we want to do the
Move
school,
to approve the Stanley Community Public School plat.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda, any discussion? Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Motion carried. The second one would be Mr. and Mrs. Taylor.
Corey Taylor's.
Okay,
Second.
second by Mr. Hellman. Hearing no discussion, call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Abstain.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next item is a variance permit. This is for a Candra Spicer. The application was submitted to allow a 4-foot chain link fence in the front yard, which is a variance from our required 2 foot 4 inches. This is at 625 2nd Street Southwest. She was present. We had a little visit with Amanda and her, and also about the fence and as far as obstructions and things like that, and we passed the variance, and we would ask you again to do the same, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got one comment, sorry. In the minutes, it should have been from the required 2 feet 6 inches. Sorry, it's not 4 inches,
Oh,
it's
yep.
2 feet 6 inches, just so everybody's aware for clarification.
You did that just to mess me up, didn't you?
Yep, sorry, that was
I
my
know it.
attention, Skip.
I knew it.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Hellman and a second by Ty to approve the variance on the fence. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David? Chad?
Motion carried.
Okay, the next item, we're not asking the council for necessarily an opinion, it's just giving you a heads up. We had a discussion about Stanley Animal Rescue Group, and also they kind of mix these things together, the same person. Jacqueline Spiegel was representing both groups. The idea of a pet shop and also the idea of animal rescue. We went through this visit a little bit in detail about what can and can't be done according to all of our guidelines that we have. The two don't necessarily, or actually aren't allowed to be together in the same location or as the same process. There is a rescue group is functioning at this point. The pet shop would be a new issue. Talking about across the street here at 208 South Main Street. We had a discussion back and forth with Ms. Spiegel on lots of different issues, business issues and the code issues and how the different two things function and so on, just kind of discussing this and working our way out. We didn't have any, she wasn't there with a permit or asking for anything at that point. It was just basically information. And so we had a good discussion on that. If you have any questions, the central business district now, an animal rescue is prohibited in that zoning, but a pet store would be allowed with stipulations. That's according to the current code that we have. Okay? Any questions?
What are the stipulations for a pet store?
And that's kind of to be determined if she comes in with an actual application for to come in before it would be approved. Some of the things we talked about is how it would be operated, the size of it, what animals might or might not be there. Certain animals are allowed, certain animals are not allowed. Whether there would be animals overnight, how it might affect all the neighbors, and some of the workings of how you have to go about getting permits approved. You have to contact neighbors and you have to make sure that what is going to be going on does not affect the neighborhood or neighborhood businesses or neighborhood apartments or that type of thing. It's a pretty close area over here. So we had lots of questions about how that was all going to work. So if it would be coming back in to be approved, we would want to know that everyone else in the neighborhood is taken into consideration and would be visited with, et cetera, and would be notified and that type of thing. We had a pretty lengthy discussion about it.
So with the pet store specifically, it limits the types of animals that can be sold there, like Skip mentioned, as well that to be a permitted use as a pet shop, It cannot create an odor, noise, or nuisance affecting the adjacent occupants. The animal rescue is a use that's not ascertained in our code. So as Skip mentioned, that's where the conditional use permit and hearing would come into place for that matter.
I think Jackie is here, and you're on the agenda down a few. I'd just as soon have you come up and do your, we got a long agenda, but, just a 2-minute brief of what you got planned, and then we'll let the P and Z guys take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I am fairly new here, so I didn't know how to apply to open a business to begin with. So I thought that I was by asking to be on the agenda. But okay, so I'm going to go through this as fast as I can. It might not be 2 minutes. Okay, so most people who live here know that there is an animal control problem. There are animals that wander. There are a lot of stray animals. A lot of animals get dumped. I moved here in March of 19, and usually wherever I live, ever since I was probably 12, I volunteer for the local pound or animal shelter, and there was nothing here, and I saw there was an issue. In August of last year, I wasn't ready to, but it needed to be done. Between living here and working in Newtown, I was saving animals all the time. So I asked the community, would anyone be interested in opening a community-based rescue where we all work together to help? And we work with local law enforcement, even not just in Stanley, but in all of Montreal County. Whenever a Newtown Police Department gets someone new that's working with animals, they call me and kind of get the ropes of which animal rescues can take which animals when. We've done a lot of good. We average helping about 30 animals a month. That's not just stray animals. That's helping people spay and neuter their pets, vaccinate their pets if they can't afford it. We also help people get food when they can't afford it. We are doing a lot of good. So when I was looking at the planning and zoning again, I didn't know how it worked here. I looked at the planning and zoning, and I saw that pet stores were allowed. Where I come from and everywhere that I've lived, and even in places that are in North Dakota, there are animal rescues that have pet stores, additionally, part of them. When the city planning and zoning found out what I was doing, they said, no, we're saying rescues cannot have pet store. I said, oh, that's fine. I've always wanted to have a pet store anyways. I've wanted to have a cattery. In my my hometown, they have a cat cafe, and it's just wonderful. It is separate, so you don't have food around the animals, but it's a place to go. People go and sit. It's a very comfortable environment, and there's just a couple of cats at a time, usually smaller cats like kittens, and they get adopted so quick. You set up times that they're open, and people just come and they fall in love with animals and they get adopted quickly. All of the ones that I know of, and this is it's kind of a global thing, and it's taking off really big, and it works very successfully. And I put a lot of research into it, and I haven't seen anywhere that it doesn't work. But they work with animal rescues. All of them do. But your attorney said that this, even though I have now started this on top of my full-time job and my rescue of my kids, that we can't work with animal rescues. And I don't understand that, because most pet stores do. A lot of states require it. California, New Jersey, New York, a lot of states require it. The ones that don't recommend it. And all of your neighboring towns that have pet stores, they do. So I don't understand why I'm being told that a pet store that is an independent LLC, not a 501c3, can't work with not just Stanley Animal Rescue, but other rescues. You can't. With the rescues, the problem that we're running into is a lot of our fosters that were in town, we've got one left. All of our fosters moved when we had the last oil bust. So all of our fosters are in, Williston and Minot and Watford City and Newtown. So it's really hard to get them adopted and because the meet and greets are impossible. It was suggested to us to try to do something like the dog park. We mostly work with cats, dogs. We usually transfer pretty quickly to other rescues unless they're smaller dogs. We've adopted a couple of bigger dogs out, but they're just a little bit over our capacity. So dog park is not appropriate for a cat. We are stifled in the way that we operate business. We are doing good for the community. If the animal rescue, which Amanda did say that we could have a business setting there, is to be able to at least have our meetings, but not have animals as far as the rescue goes. But the cattery on Main Street would like to take over the lease for that pet shop space area and just have a little pet shop that has pet supplies and helps rescues. We're not asking to keep animals there all the time. It's not, I don't see how it's going to be a nuisance. Everyone is really excited in the community for this. We've talked to but we haven't had animals in there. We've been paying rent since September, trying to make everything good and make it so that animals can't leave that opening. You guys used to be in that building. There was opening when you came in the front door. We have plexiglass up there. We've made it so that it's the floor isn't carpet and it's just beautiful in there. And we've talked to the neighbors and talked to them about how we're going to work around their schedules. If there's any time that they don't want it busy there, we're going to work around that. We're talking probably 4 hours a week, maximum 10, of having 2 to 4, mostly under 1-year-old cats, just for people to come and buy supplies, hang out, visit some cats, adopt a cat if they'd like it. That's all we're asking. And I don't see, it's done everywhere. I don't see why we're getting such a brick wall when we are doing so good and we really have hit a plateau. I put so much work into this. So many of your community members have put so much work into this. And the rescue is going bankrupt from this right now because we're paying rent and it's, we thought we were going to be able to do this. It says pet stores are there. It doesn't say rescues can't have pet stores. Rescues have pet stores all the time. It doesn't say pet stores can't work with rescues. They do it all the time. We are like, if you're not going to allow us, then really, like, as the government agency, then please get a pound or something. If you're not going to let us help, do something. But we're happy to help, and even if you get a pound, we're happy to help. But something has to be done, and we're doing it. So that is my plea to you.
Okay, comments?
Can I read something?
Mm-hmm.
This is from today.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna say who sent it, but it says, sounds to me like everyone who supports rescue needs to have all the members of the city council on speed dial. And when a stray is found, the governing bodies each get a phone call reporting to find. It says maybe catch and release in their yards, meaning us apparently.
I didn't post that. That's not for me.
Well, this is a group.
Yeah.
And then maybe put in their garage so they can experience firsthand the good they're doing.
Okay. Well, I will.
That's kind of counterproductive.
That is very counterproductive. And I didn't see that full comment. I'll make sure that gets deleted. I don't get notified of all of the comments. And that's inappropriate. The phone calls when you're upset to city councils is something that is appropriate, but the rest of it is absolutely inappropriate. And I completely agree. But there is a problem here. We are working hard on helping the problem. We don't make any money off of that. Most of us that, not just on the board, but all of our volunteers and all of our fosters put our hard-earned time and hard-earned money into this, and all we're trying to do is help, and we have hit a plateau. And I really don't think 4 to 10 hours with volunteers available, for each, if there's 2 cats, there'll be at least 1 volunteer. And if there's 4 cats, there'll be at least 2. And that's the maximum amount that we'd have in there at that time. And and it'd be cleaned up right afterwards. And it's probably going to be 4 hours a week, but maximum 10. And we would work with the neighbors. I just don't see why we are getting such a brick wall.
So do they stay there then? when
No.
nobody's there?
Well, and I got pushback from that because I don't want them to stay there. I want them to be there when people are there to look at them, to be interested in them. I don't want them to live there all the time. I have, I'm doing this as a part-time thing to have something in town where people can have, come and look at some unique items for animals too, and bring in some unique items. We have some local vendors that want to be able to sell items and make items, and so the kind of a cute little shop. But I don't, working full-time in Newtown, I don't want them to be there 24 hours. And they had a problem with that too, and said, well, some pet shops have them there full-time. Plenty of them don't though. Just because I'm not having an animal there 24/7, it doesn't live there. It's just there to buy. And that's not uncommon either. It goes both ways. Some places do have them there full time and some don't. Our animal rescue prides itself on foster-based rescue, where the animals are loved and taken care of. And it's not, some animal rescues have all the animals in cages and shelters. We don't do that. Some animal rescues, take on way too many in one house, and we don't do that. We have one, unless it's just a little litter of kittens, in that circumstance, one person just takes an extra cat, gives it some love until it finds its forever home. And that way they're acclimated to people, and they're more social, and it's, I don't know, we really love what we do and the way we do it. And we think that we do it safe, responsibly, but we have really hit a plateau without being able to work with a pet store, because, the rescues in Minot have Petco. The rescues in Williston have pet stores also. We don't have a pet store here. So we were going to start our own, but we were told we couldn't. That's fine. I can start one. And I've always I really am really excited about this. So I'll start a pet store. It doesn't have to be part of the rescue. I can put my own money into it, and I just did not expect to get this. I didn't expect to get, maybe initially when she called me, just kind of, what are you doing? But I did not expect this at all. It's just the other towns I've called, the attorneys that I've talked to today, and it's not what we expected. So.
Okay, any other comments?
I can summarize. Oh, sorry, Ty. Were you?
I was just curious, so this is something that currently P and Z is working on, is that correct, Mr. Whiting?
I can, yeah.
Him
and I can.
Yeah, and I guess I just had a couple comments. I guess in my opinion, I'm all for somebody starting a business, and, as long as it's not a nuisance, and just the way I think. If it is a nuisance, I'd like to think that it would be fixed pretty quick, because landlord is not going to want to lose his tenants upstairs. And besides, like, in my head, just way wrap my head around, if it doesn't work, I'd like to think it's going to fix itself pretty quick and easy, just with landlords and the way, stuff works. I mean, if something drives out the rest of the building, I'd like to think that this business probably will be pretty short-lived if it doesn't work in harmony with everything else there.
So I guess and Skip can correct me, or Amanda can, but this is where, I guess, overview, it seems like we're at right now. The P&Z last night provided a set of questions that Amanda will be sending out to Ms. Spiegel regarding the pet store portion. These go towards the requirements that are under that C4 corridor, the subsection for what's required to operate the permitted use of a pet store. Now, under our code right now, the animal rescue is not a defined use. So therefore, which you should have in your minutes from P&Z, that will better explain it. Ms. Spiegel has been given the opportunity, and she's able to apply for a conditional use permit and have the hearing. So once that information is received by P&Z, that's welcome to be submitted for an animal rescue, have the hearing. And at that point, after it goes through P&Z, whatever happens, their recommendations would come forth to the council for council action of some sort.
However, the the questions that they are asking as, I'm not going to get his words exactly, but something like we are entitled to ask all these questions. So it's not just the planning questions. They want to know exactly how it's going to lay it out, where the shelves are going to be. And then I explained everything's, movable because it's how it's comfortable in there. And it's, and exactly how we're going to get the animals. But again, I want to be able to work with rescues, but I have to list it where I'm not working with rescues. I can have it planned one way and have it planned another way, but I have to show how I'm going to work without rescues. I don't want to do it if I'm not working without rescues. I was told that I should, concentrate on making money and not worry about the rescues. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I raised my kids. We do things to help, and yes, I think that the pet store will make money, but that's not why I'm doing it. I think it will make money, and I think that I can make money and I can help. But my motive here is to help. So if I'm going into it making this plan, but making it contingent upon I might not be able to help, then what's the point? I'm just as busy as everyone else. Why am I starting a whole new project if it's not going to do any good?
Yes.
Yeah, when she's done, I'll close this off.
Okay, I've got a couple questions too, but anybody else?
You're gonna have to come up to the microphone.
So I'm just a foster that helps with the rescue and
You want to give us your name for the
yeah,
minutes?
my name's Lindsay Holby. And I've helped foster some kittens and now I have one of the 1-year-old cats that we're trying to get adopted. And the cattery the cattery / pet store would help, like for example, the one that I have right now get adopted quicker because I could bring her in and people could meet her personally and not just see it on Facebook or whatever and say, oh, that's a cute cat, but I have no idea how she acts. And I think her point is that the rescue along with the pet store, the point is to help these animals that you see when you drive down the streets. That's the point more than anything else, I guess, in my eyes, is to help these pets that are in the freezing cold of North Dakota that are getting left outside or getting loose and aren't being taken care of.
If we
So-
can get one of the animals that are in rescue already in foster, we're obviously going to make sure they're fully vetted and the vet has okayed them to be adopted recently. If we can get that one adopted, that means we can take another one off the street and do the same thing. But we are really halted when we are foster based, which we want to stay foster based. We don't want, a hoarding situation like some of other rescues do, or huge kenneling where they're not getting socialized. We love our foster-based rescue. But when we're foster-based, in order for the animals to get adopted, it's just online and Facebook, or we have to have our potential adopters come to our fosters' houses. That can be, safety issues because it's people from anywhere. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. Plus, we have most of our fosters are, again, Williston, Minot, Watford City. If they have a day a week or a day a month, that they can bring a couple of the animals in, then they can actually be seen. The USDA frowns upon adoption sight unseen. It's really not being able to work with a pet store because there isn't one here. Is stifling the rescue. There's not a pound here. We're trying to help. So I'm trying to, if the rescue can't have a pet store, that's fine. I'm just trying to start a pet store then. But then I'm being told pet store can't work with a rescue unless there's a contingent permit. But I don't see where it actually says that. And anyone that I've talked to today doesn't agree with that. So I'm just trying to get your guys's opinion on like, I feel like they're gonna have us have me jump through all these hoops for the pet store, and start the pet store, but I'm not gonna be able to work with the rescue because that's contingent and might not be approved anyways. And it really sounded like they were leaning towards not approving that at all. We were looking at, that just didn't look like that was something that's going to be approved. We're not asking to have a shelter there. We're not asking to put animals in cages and leave them there all the time. We're just asking to have a pet store that can work with rescues, not just Stanley Animal Rescue, but if a rescue follows all the rules and, it's a contract between me and my pet store and the rescue. And I feel like I apologize if it sounds rude, but I really feel like they're looking for any reason not to approve it instead of looking for a reason to approve it, because I really don't see how 4 to 10 hours, 10 hours maximum, that's like on a really busy week. Like, let's say it's summer, all the kids are out and really want to go, where we're working with the neighbors and making sure that it's not conflicting with their schedule. Like, we have Lostwood Media and this next door, we've talked to them a lot of times, like if they're doing some kind of video recording, we're going to check with them before we set those times, and they're going to check with us so that we're not having you have a couple of small cats. It's not like dogs barking. It's not going to be very loud, but they're still recording. We're still respectful of them. The planning and zoning was worried about how could this landlord rent to a pet store? 2 to 4 animals, 2 to 4 cats, that's really not a big deal for a couple of hours. And we've made that place beautiful, and he knows that we're going to respect it. So I was pretty surprised and shocked after the meeting, the whole experience that I've had. It's just unbelievable when we're trying to do so much good.
Okay, any other comments? Skip?
You guys done? Okay. I want to make something perfectly clear. The committee is not against what is going on. We are pro-business. We like to see businesses get started. We will operate according to the code, the ordinances that we have. We're going to make recommendations to you based on our existing rules. We will look out for the neighborhood, the neighbors, and the other interests of citizens that are here. That's our job. There was a lot of, I thought, positive comments from the committee about establishing the business, the pet store, et cetera. What we really want to do is, for everyone's benefit, if somebody goes to start a business, it's part of our responsibility to see that they get started off on the right foot. Now, to say that she has been declined, technically, she has not asked for anything. You ask by filing a permit and turning it into the committee. So far, we are just discussion. Nothing has been asked for. It's just been all information. So that's where we're at this time. Any questions?
I guess you took some of my comments away. I don't think anybody on this council or myself is against a pet store or a pet shelter or a rescue shelter. We're questioning the location because part of our responsibility is to the other people around it. And when you're in a city, you got to consider the neighbors. We know that building very well because we rented it for 6-8 years. There's 3 parking spots in the back. There's 3 apartments up top. There's 1 dumpster, and that takes up a parking spot. So you're going to have on-street parking basically for your workers or whoever comes to see you. The question would be the dumpster, if one of the people living upstairs is allergic to cats. You might have to have a separate dumpster. Part of our questions are location. I don't think anybody's against a rescue shelter. For years, we don't take the stray dogs out and shoot them. We take them out to the vet, and Chris, tell me where they go from there.
We worked with Maxine over out of Tioga. I guess what we've done for years, if somebody calls and say, hey, we have a lot of cats in the area and they're don't belong to anybody, we'll set up a trap. Over the years, we've had various farmers that want wild cats, so they can take them out there. You know, usually we try and find the owner if it's a tame animal. And reunite them as far as dogs and cats. We take them out to Fairhaven Vet Clinic, and from there, we've got Maxine that you see on Facebook different times with animals. Who's taking animals all the way to Indiana, dogs and stuff that we brought out there that didn't have a home. So that's basically what the police department's done. Somebody's called for a while there, we didn't have where we bring them out there, so other people said, well, we can keep it, and then we posted on Facebook through the City Stanley happenings or something like that. If no owner was found, you know, working with her at the time, it was homes were found for the animals.
Okay.
And part of the vet clinic there, part of them, I feel we're going to be down there, they would be given shots, so we knew they would have to do it before they were get into their homes. So basically, that's what we've kind of done. I know that at one point, I think we reached out to the shelter, but they weren't taking dogs, you know, in that little period, but she wasn't taking animals.
Good.
That's kind of what we've done, and, you know, where they found homes and stuff for a lot of these cats, so that's a good thing that they're out there on the streets.
Okay.
That's what we've done.
Okay, thank you. We got time for about one more minute, and then,
Real quick. Okay, so they keep saying I am not, or didn't apply for a permit. So I got a phone call right before what we thought was our grand opening for the rescue gallery. And Amanda asked me what our plans were, and I very excitedly told her what we're doing initially, and we might be able to do this, and we might be able to do that. And I was just excited, you know. And then she had said that she didn't think that I was going to be able to do it, and then she called me back. I asked her when, and she said probably in 2 days. 2 days happened. I called her and left her a message. I didn't hear back, so I came in to the office and said I needed to file for a permit, but she talked to the attorney, and they said no, as far as the rescue being able to have animals there. So, but and I argued my case about the pet stores, right? But we were gonna have a pet store. No. So then I started the pet store, right? And I called and asked, how do I get it? Like, how do I do the permit thing? She mentioned the permit thing. I was transferred a couple times, I didn't get an answer. So then I put myself on the agenda, because now I have a pet store. How do I do this? So yes, I didn't apply for a permit because I've been trying to figure out how to do this. I'm sorry, but I don't know. But that's ultimately, I'm trying to get a permit to be able to have the pet store there, but if they do want me to jump through a lot of extra hoops that I don't see other things have to. It says there can be a pet store under the conditions that there are only certain pets. It does say there needs to be health certificate, but I've supplied a document from the health department saying they have no such health certificate. We're obviously, all of our animals are obviously going to be vetted, and I've already explained that. They want me to be able to put it in writing, but they also want me to put in writing how I'm going to operate without working with rescue. I don't want to, because I don't want to do this if I'm not working with rescue. So that's the question, is why a pet store, not the rescue. The rescue is fine with having just having their meetings there and using their little space to store stuff. They're fine with that. The pet store, why can't they work with rescues? And she's saying, because they can't. Why? Because everywhere else is like that. So that's why I'm asking you, like, can you guys please give this pet store permission to work with rescues? Because otherwise, I don't want to put all this money and time into it if I'm not going to do any good. Does that make sense?
And I think this goes back to what exactly the minutes said, and Ms. Spiegel has been informed of at the planning and zoning meeting, that if there is a rescue that wants to operate as that is not a listed use within our code, an animal rescue is not delineated as a permitted or conditional use under our code. And I apologize, I don't have the specific page in front of me. But uses not specified still are required under our planning and zoning code. I need to get to the correct page here. I'm still on my thing here. Uses not specified under code 5.0304.5, as discussed last night at planning and zoning. Uses not specified may be allowed in a district with approval of planning and zoning commission following careful review and provided that such uses are in similar character to the permitted uses in the district. The planning and zoning council last night informed Ms. Spiegel that therefore, because that's not a use that's not delineated in our code, that is why there would need to be a conditional use permit for the animal rescue to be there, that they would take that into consideration as they do with other conditional uses in the city of Stanley, that they would need to receive the application for a conditional use and see documentation showing what the business is, so they would be able to properly consider that as required of them under our code. So they would be awaiting that conditional use application. An animal rescue, which would still be in the building, and that's not a use delineated. So for them to come into the building, you would need a conditional permit, conditional use to be approved by planning and zoning, which then comes before the city council after it's gone through P&Z. So that still needs to be applied for because it's an animal rescue operating through or coming into a building. I know how contracts work. I'm telling you that it has to be applied for. That's what's been decided by planning and zoning last night. They've informed it to you. They'll await that application from you stating that about the animal rescue. Then they can take it into consideration as required by them under their own code. They said you had to apply separately for each because they're two separate entities. And I think that's also noted in the notes from last night's minutes, that they need to know the certain use, what the business is for each, and a description of what's going on there, because they need to understand if the pet store meets under the pet store definition, because they're bound by the zoning code. That's enforceable by them, and it's their job as a commission to follow that. Then for the animal rescue, they need to see that permit application from the Stanley Animal Rescue if they're going to be coming into a building within one of the districts in the city of Stanley. So they can hear that information of, this is what the rescue is, this is what our plans are, we're gonna adopt animals, we would like to adopt animals at the pet store location, this is what we're seeking. Then they make a hearing and a decision as to each of those, because they're bound to follow the code. It's not optional for them to not receive either of that information. They have to do that to be bound by to follow the code that they have to comply with.
Mr. Mayor.
I just don't agree that Petco has Fairwell Haven.
And I understand where Petco is, but that's the city of Minot with separate regulations, because every municipality has different zoning and regular ordinances. We're not the city of Minot, so we have a separate zoning code from the city of Minot, as well as separate ordinances,
They're being adopted through Petco.
which is in the city of Minot under the city of Minot zoning regulations and ordinances. They could allow that in Minot. I don't know what that is. We're speaking specifically as to the city of Stanley zoning code and ordinances, which all the members of the council here are bound by to follow, as well as P&Z, That's what Amanda has to go by when she receives applications. Enforcement of law has to be with our ordinances as well. We can't follow the city of Minot because we aren't the city of Minot. This is binding us.
Which, Mr. Mayor,
When you have an animal there, it's going through the pet store, it's not going to the rescue.
It's the rescue that's operating in there and putting the animal there. So the animal rescue is still operating by coming into the location with their animal.
When you go when Pepsi brings their sodas to the store and they're selling their sodas, you're buying it from Pathway, not from Pepsi. even though
Spiegel, I understand and the council understands how contracts work, but we're speaking specifically as to what's delineated in our code and we have to follow that. Amanda has a comment as to something on this.
I just want to make it clear, what she has said is true. When she called and asked, I said it is not a permitted use because I am, like Kendra said, bound by you guys to follow that code. It is my job, it is my department. And so that is why I told her no, that the animals are not allowed because they are in fact not allowed. Last night, we went through a very good discussion to get the next steps for what the pet store would need, and then to be able to apply for that conditional use permit to allow those animals, if they want to be associated with the pet store. We have laid clear guidelines and next steps out for Ms. Spiegel, and I don't know what else to do past that. I feel like we're kind of talking in circles right now, and we've clearly laid out what needs to happen next. So that's up to her to do those things.
So we're going to move on. I think the city depends on the P and Z for recommendations. And that's why we have them, because they go into more depth than we can. We're not New York, we're not California, and we're not New Jersey, and we all work full-time.
I would encourage you to fill out the forms that they're asking and put it in front of you.
Yes,
If I have to fill it out so that it's not a rescue, then why am I doing
Well, but just, don't interrupt me, just listen, okay? They're not asking you to do what you're saying or what you're thinking. What they're saying is get your pet store in order and then fill out the conditional use permit to be able, for the option of the possibility of bringing your rescue cats through your pet store.
But they did specifically say, how are you gonna operate it without the rescue? That's why I have to fill it out. That's why-
They're saying that because you need to provide, for the pet shop, there was specific questions that they asked Pride to make sure that she's within that definition of the pet store. But that's not a conditional use permit. It's just providing the information so they understand. Yep.
You know, where the shelves are and how they're built. Pardon me, Skip, but I really don't care about that. That's a business decision to make with your business. But where do you get your pets? Or where do you get your animals that you're gonna sell? I think that's what they're getting at. And then with the cats that you're rescuing, that's the conditional use that you're just asking. Here's my conditional use. We're gonna work with the cat rescue people to bring kittens into the pet store on no more than 10 hours a week to be able to have a meet and greet and hopefully adopt them. They're not gonna live on location, they're not gonna be there, permanent residents wandering around, that's what they're looking for. So I know it's probably a little bit confusing, and you're probably really frustrated, I can sense that. But I think if you let it play out, you probably could be very surprised at what we're gonna be able to do. So I really encourage you just to take that minute, go to Skip's building and talk to him, and just sit down and say, how do you want me to do this? Can you help me fill this out? And I think that's gonna go a long ways for you. So I encourage you.
okay, we're going to take a 10-minute recess.
I mean, in all reality, if they're not housing 13 dogs on campus in the back there, it's the shit is clarified, and you're good. So what was your list of stipulations?
But it's gonna list the building permits, inspections, time, checkpoints, the city needs to go through it. Inspection, water, your process that it needs to be all of. There's a lot of things.
So like, the daily surrounding area.
Sanitary practices inside and outside.
Collaborative.
Should be a big part.
I think that the privacy art.
Do you want to know how many of us are next? 1, 2, 3.
Clear there. Then I'll just immediately once he's okay.
And they take care of themselves. They've got to be there all the way. Somebody else will do it for them. They can't.
Deal, let's roll. I gotta, don't beat that thing yet.
Okay, you gotta beat Amanda's little wraps up. She's next.
Please.
Todd says wait. I don't know, I don't know.
What?
Giddy up.
Amanda, you ready?
I'm ready.
Jacob, is it on? Okay. Next on the agenda, the P and Z Administrator Report.
Good evening again, everyone. As you can see, we had 2 sets of egress windows. Arnie Adicott is putting up a new building on his new property. And we had the signs for the RTC that's taking over the Midstate building next door. And then they went ahead and put in that demo permit for Pam Nelson for the old implement building over by the railroad tracks. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Motion to approve.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
All right.
David? Chad?
Approving building permits?
Yep.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Any questions for Amanda? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, the North Water Line Water Purchase Agreement and it's in our packet somewhere.
This referring to Bill Meyer.
Mr. Bill.
Yeah, Bill, come on up.
Okay, so just kind of a brief summary, I guess. So obviously, Bill had stopped in, I was back in May when we approved his water purchase agreements for his 2 lots out there along Old Highway 2. And obviously by our water purchase agreement, he was required to pay $3,000 and of course per lot. Then he found out from the association that he would have to obviously pay into this association. So that then of course prompted Fritz had me do some research. I did provide you with some minutes. As you can tell, I wasn't able to find a lot of detail, so I didn't have much information. We had asked if David Leith could be here. He is the president of the association. He wasn't able to be here tonight. He did stop in and talk to me yesterday after, little before lunchtime yesterday. Kind of course, like he said, this being over 20 years ago, that of course, things are a little fuzzy back then, but he did, you'll see I provided you, which he provided to me, kind of their cost, kind of an agreement they had with Allen Fenstermaker to have the water line put in. And from my understanding, this water line was hooked into the fire hydrant that is kind of located over by, it would have been Bev and Kelly Gleaves' old house.
Right across the road.
Yep, and of course, you'll see that extends kind of the west, a little ways there on the west side of Highway 8, and then it cuts across and heads east. So this association actually paid for this water line.
It's a private line.
It is,
I move that we refund Bill Meyer his total fees that he paid us for a water hookup.
I'd second that.
We got a motion to second. Any discussion?
Question.
I'm waiting for Bill's got to say something. He said, well, you both got my money. I'm used to that.
Sorry for the oversight.
So
Kendra?
there's still payment for the water meter though, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
just, yeah,
I'm
for
just-
clarification, obviously, once he gets hooked into the water line and is ready, he would have to come here, set up his account with the city and pay the $75 fee for the meter.
And the cost of the meter probably should come from that water association. Okay,
I do believe that I thought David said that they each paid for their own meter, but
Oh, that-
you might want to confirm that with the association.
okay.
Once it gets off the big line, it's not a problem.
Well, like I said, there isn't gonna be a bunch of this because it's only a 4-inch line. I mean, they aren't gonna add on 10 more houses out there. But I'm sure it'll handle 2 more, so. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Call for the question.
Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Motion carried. Bill, you can go home.
Okay, thank you.
Good work.
Unless you wanna stay. Unless you wanna stay. Okay, next up, Steve, patiently waiting.
I sent you some information there, just in addition to the talking points. I just kind of wanted to point out this application that we have was tabled just so that the city and the park district could kind of come to the table with whatever they were able to do on the pool project there. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that all the time that I've been on this committee, we've never tried to just empty the fund at the end of the year. We always just took them as they came, and if the money went back to the general fund, we were okay with that. This does take us a little closer to emptying the fund, so via the discussion points that I sent to you there, we kind of moved to approve $80,000. $104,000 would be the amount that is left in the fund. We did have one other request pending, but there would also be $150,000 carryover. So it's not like we can't do business right away next year. So, but it was our recommendation to be part of this project and do that. The other thing to consider is if they can get this done on a 2-year timetable, this would be the last time that technically they could come to us for funds, because there's a 2-year window on every application. So that's kind of why we moved to approve this, plus the amount that we laid in front of you there.
So you're recommending 80,000?
We're recommending 80 if, if the council has other uses for those funds or whatever, fine. Otherwise, 104 would empty that fund.
So that's leaving you with roughly 24,000 if we do the 80.
Correct. But that rolls over into the general fund. So, like I said, I mean, we've never come in here or looked at trying to empty it every year. I guess that's my belief that everything should be handled on its own merits. So.
Okay, any comments, questions?
I guess I just have one comment on it. At every turn of the road where the pool is falling to the taxpayers of the city of Stanley so far, and whether they're getting the EDC money, whether they're getting the $500,000 that the council has approved, and also their mill levy that they collect every year, strictly from the city of Stanley. And no way, shape, or form do I mean that, or want to lead you down the path that I don't think that the pool is needed, that it's a good addition to the city, but I really think that we need to encourage some outside look for some of this funding other than just always on our desk. I know that they're fundraising, they're doing, the little things here and there that are gonna generate the $5,000 and $10,000, but in order to do something like this, I really think that the county, somebody needs to work with the county, because the rural kids used our pool just as much as our city kids do. And
So the county, I've talked to Joan a little bit about that,
they
and,
can't make a donation.
no, but she suggested the JDA, which is the job
Which you are
development.
on, I believe he was gonna contact you,
Right.
Tanner.
And one thing, and I was gonna bring it up under council concerns, was the JDA meets in February,
February 3rd.
and I asked to be on the agenda. And so far, I talked to Brandy with the EDC. We would like to go to that meeting and propose that the JDA hire an executive director, an EDC director. That would work with all the towns in the county, not just Stanley, not just Newtown or whatever. And, make it a paid position. Right now, they go through Service Basin for their grant writing and stuff. And this person, half their job would be grant writing probably. And it would be situations like this. And I'm thinking that the county should pay half of that salary and maybe split the other half proportionally between the cities by census. So Stanley would pay 35% of half their salary, that's my proposal rather than a city of Stanley EDC.
Yeah, I mean, that would make way more sense because everybody's players in this, in this
And somebody that
area
does it
here.
all day, you know,
Yeah.
instead of you guys do it on a part-time basis.
Do the other towns within the county though, do they have the EDC? Do they
I-
have the home rule? to where
I don't
they
know.
have 1% sales tax?
I believe that I've seen that on some of them. Of course, Newtown is,
That's
would
one
say
thing that
Newtown does.
I would have some reservation of, if we're gonna generate that money here within, especially the city of Stanley. And I'm gonna say it, and I gotta watch the taxes that I collect from our business go to other communities.
Mhm.
And they do not contribute to that pool of money, then
Right.
I'm not gonna be able to do with that.
Yeah, and I would think you'd want a unanimous from all the towns.
They would all have to contribute
Yeah.
that home rule.
But it's just, it's something we want to propose to them. It'll have to come back to council. But I guess I'd like your blessing just to go and throw it out. Steve, you can come with that day?
yep, absolutely.
I think it's worth asking.
Yeah. I just think the EDC director.
If nothing else, we need more cooperation
Yeah.
from them. They're, you know, I don't even know how they operate because I don't see that. It's
No, and
real
I'm not very
transparent.
familiar either. Linda's on that board as a representative of Stanley.
And maybe I'm out of line thinking both ways as far as the continual comeback for more tax money for the pool.
And if a city did not, say if White Earth didn't want to do it, then this person wouldn't help them. You know,
Well, I can see them wanting to do it, but the question still remains, I mean, what do they contribute to the fund? In order
Right.
to be able to pull money out of it, you
Right.
still, you have to be a player in the fund, too.
Yep.
You can't just pay them.
right, and that's why I'm thinking half their salary should come from the cities so that they've got some skin in the game.
Right, but you're still talking about using the EDC funds that we see right now. which is
No,
generated-
I've never
No.
said where the funds would come from. It'd probably
Oh,
just come out of the
they're just
general
gonna-
fund.
They're just gonna be that
Yes.
director, our.
Yep.
I'm-
Yeah, it'd probably just the general fund because it's just a general expense.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. I
Okay.
thought you meant the
Okay.
EDC funds.
You know, in regard to your comment about, I'm pretty sure pretty sure they need to raise the rest of this money, Chad. I think, you know, they know that has to happen, so.
Okay.
That's gonna need to come from individual investment and any other way that they can raise that, so.
Okay, we got a proposal on the table for this one. What are the wishes?
To make a motion to approve the $80,000 suggested by the EDC.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Linda. Any other discussion? Call the roll?
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
No,
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried.
Okay,
I'll get a hold of you before that, because Brandy said she'd probably,
Yeah,
and I
she
haven't
said-
caught up to Jenny is, yeah. Yeah, and they asked what I wanted on the agenda, and I did mention it to her, what we're thinking, so.
whether it's the city or the, you know, unified cities in the county, I mean, we gotta get somebody that's chasing something.
Yep. Some of the stuff you do probably, they could help you with.
Well, you know, I wish we could tell you we're doing more, but just, you know, get it reviewed, and unfortunately, people have to find their own way on some of the things.
Yep.
This is what I'm experiencing tonight.
Yep.
We gotta come to the table with something that's concrete.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep, thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
The Visitors Committee,
Mr. Mayor, I think they
said that they recommended approval of 3,000 out of a requested 7,000. I would motion to approve the 3,000
Okay, is there a second
dodgeball tournament.
for the park board?
It's actually for all of them. I spoke with Cassie. It's for the dodgeball, for the calendars, for the website, for the monthly drawings. They thought they'd bunch it all into one so they don't have to keep coming back, is what she explained to me.
It's for that calendar you're gonna be on, Ty.
So is that a second?
We've got a motion. Is there a second?
That would be the second.
Second by Linda. Any other discussion? Call the roll?
Just for clarification, we are going based off of their recommendation
Yes.
for the 3,000.
Yep.
Okay. Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
I,
David,
Aye.
Chad.
I know it's after the fact, but also for clarification, it's for all of the things, right?
yep,
Not just
that's,
the
that's what she
Yep.
said to me.
Yep. It's for their application.
They have up here.
Okay, next on the agenda is Bros Engineering. Donovan had surgery this morning because he tore his Achilles heel last week. There's nothing on here for council actions. Working on the shared use path thing and capital improvement project.
If you wouldn't mind if I'd mention one thing, because this is somewhat related to the city engineer agenda. I think we all know last month, believe this was on the agenda just last month, and the mayor had been in touch with me as to a solution and speaking with Landis Farms as to an easement out there to remedy the sewer problem by the Nelson property. We have been in communications, the mayor has with Landis Farms, and they are open to an easement. I can certainly draft that document, but in order for me to draft an easement, I would need permission for the council, and we'd also need permission to go to Bros to get the proper survey done, as well as to locate the existing sewer line that's out there. So I would be seeking permission to do that if we can move forward with that.
Second.
Thank
Okay.
you.
One other comment on that, talking to Kurt this afternoon, and I mentioned this, and he said, maybe what we need to do is just put in a drain field, because there's no drain field, it's just a tank. Because he don't know where that line goes, but I guess we can find it.
We need to find out, because now we start letting the drain field in, and now we just got rid of 13 of them.
Yeah.
And that would be part of, I guess, that would be part of what we could do.
But yeah, we need to find out exactly where the line goes, but Landis said whatever it takes.
I mean, I would think that we could just tie into where it used to be, and then put their door back where the top of it
Mhm.
until they do something out there.
Right, just cover it up good.
Get the cover back so it won't
Okay.
freeze.
Anything else we need on the engineers stuff?
Does she need a motion? and a
Probably
second?
vote on it since we
Oh, sorry,
motioned
somebody
and
has to vote on
seconded.
it.
Yeah, I made a motion.
Oh, yeah.
I seconded.
Did you second it? Okay,
Roll call.
roll call.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Abstain.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
I,
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Motion carried. Zach, you know what needs to be done there then? Or to pass it on to Donovan?
I haven't. Yeah, I'll pass it on to him. I
Okay,
haven't been involved with all the conversations there, but we can definitely get the survey done.
okay. Next on the agenda is MCMC, a memorandum of understanding. And this is something we did a few years ago. And I didn't see where there's an end date on this, but
Oh, the previous one?
yeah. Why we have to do it again.
I believe they, in the message that we originally received, or that Elaine received from the medical center, they were audited on something and it came up from their auditor that it needed to be reviewed each year on their side of things
Yeah.
to make sure they're in compliance. which is probably okay practice for us to review it.
Questions on that? What we would need would be a motion to approve updating the terms of the memorandum of understanding with MCMC.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Construction engineering. What's this one now, Elaine?
Okay, so obviously this has to do with the interview we conducted. So I took your interview questions and your ratings as well. So most of them range to the highest, of course, being 35. Most of them range from between 31 and 35. But is there anything else specific we need to do, Kendra, or just they can make a motion to approve?
Well, I apologize. I don't have my little cheat sheet in front
I
of me.
don't either.
But I know that we submitted our rankings and ballots. That's
Well,
correct.
yeah, and that's why I said the highest
mean,
being
we only had one.
35 and most of them, probably the lowest was 31, but so.
Okay. We just need to award that, have a vote of who to award it to.
So you have it broke down on how they ranked out? Collectively? Right? That's what you did?
Was this only bros that applied for this? Just making
Correct.
sure. So yeah, I think we just, based on those polls, we need to put in writing.
Okay,
Move to
so
approve roles for the engineering for highway safety improvement program.
Second.
Who said second?
Jake,
Jacob?
And I believe this will all go into that packet with the notes submitted to the DOT at this point.
were they supposed to put their names on these? Because they didn't.
On the notes,
Yes.
let me ask her tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't
You
know
want
if
me to
it's
just tell them to write their
specifically.
names on it anyways and just in case?
Yeah, we should probably do that. They're a little more stringent with their
around.
requirements.
Okay. So we've got a motion and second. We need to call the roll on that.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Abstain.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. So the next item on the agenda is the first reading of the animal kennels, boarding, and rescue operations ordinance.
So you do see that I did provide you a revised copy. After our meeting at the planning and zoning, there was discussion. I guess, previously, sorry, I should back up. Kendra, Todd, myself, and Amanda had kind of discussed this briefly, and it does reference in this ordinance in regards to like fees for animal kennels, correct, Kendra?
Yeah, let me pull out Lynn here, the. most
So I
recent.
guess something that will have to be thought about as well, like what kind of fee we would charge and whether we would also require like pet shops to have to do an annual fee and license.
So I'm really open to feedback on this. This itself is a conglomeration of, after reviewing a lot of other municipalities' ordinances on all of the above things. It's pretty, there was a few, and I believe one of them was Devil's Lake, that was really good and thorough with the process of defining everything in specific specifications for sizes of kennels and licensing. I would just, I guess, if there's input as to things that you guys would like to see in this or changes, and like Lynn said, as to a permit fee, I would still encourage you to have some sort of permit application for a pet store, kennel, rescue, because, we can require, and I think it would be nice to not only have that information of them applying to the city, so we ascertain where they're operating at, But one of the examples of that application I sent to Ellen yesterday is from the city of Williston. And the city of Williston's application specifically says on there that they need to have liability insurance and proof of that, which would be important for us to know that they're abiding by that and have something covering them. Now, as to the fee, obviously, you could set that by resolution. So if you didn't want a fee at all, you wouldn't have to have a fee, or we can remove that as well.
I guess I don't see a need for a fee just to charge somebody to try to do business here to make a living, to charge them money for that.
No, but I think the idea of,
The permit and the disclosure of insurance is, to me, is a must-have. That's a
Yeah.
so would you want it to say a permit from the city council, not the auditor?
They'll need to secure it from her. Like, she will hold the application, and then the application goes before the council.
rule by us.
Yep.
And then the other thing in there to note is it's got to be 300 feet from residential. So
For
that
the
would,
pet
that would
shop?
eliminate, no, for a rescue.
Okay. Yep.
So does it spell out the difference, like rescue, like what the guests tonight we're talking about versus shelters? Because
So
in my mind, that's two completely different things.
Yep. So there's a few, I mean, animal shelters defined on here, as well as pet shop and a qualified home. And I think the qualified home is more of like if you're a foster parent, having foster animals in your home, or an animal shelter is an actual licensed specific facility. Yep. And then that's different from a kennel, which we've defined under this as well.
So what we'd be doing tonight would be approving the first reading, and then for next month, whatever changes we want to make, we would do.
And I will know we'll have to end up changing the zoning ordinance as well. We'll probably have to do some adjustments there to make sure these definitions make it into the updated zoning code if this passes.
Now, with that said, my question, I guess, would be if we pass this through both readings, what does that change for them?
So if this passes, I can put that it, I mean, we can specifically say this applies retroactively. But I think otherwise it's an annual, if the pet shop is an annual license, she'll need to apply if this goes into effect, she'll have to apply for a pet shop license.
Is there anything as far as, maybe it's not in there, could we get it in there? As far as like what they're planning over there, that they would have to petition the other residents of that building
For a pet shop?
or whatever?
So
Yeah.
a pet shop under our code right now, under the zoning code portion, it's not, there's a few references in the actual ordinances, chapter 11, and those are mainly as to what kind of like animals they can have inside there to sell. But it's a permitted use under our commercial districts. So we would have to change the zoning code itself to make a pet shop not a permitted use, but a conditional use. That would require changing of the zoning ordinance. If we had a conditional use, yep.
And I mean, I don't think that we need to be, our goal here shouldn't be to make things so damn tough for people that they just absolutely can't do anything either. I mean, a pet shop in the sense of a pet shop, not a big deal in my mind. Now, a pet shop with a shelter on the back of it is a whole nother ballgame, because you could have 6 dogs in that pen part.
So I guess my question would be on a pet shop, because on a kennel, I believe on here in an animal rescue facility, we have some kind of delineated things about size and that they need to fill out showing what the size of the building is. Would we like those same conditions put under the pet shop, or leave it as is? That it needs to be kept clean and sanitary, etc.
Thing I was looking at is if someone lives in one of those apartments, say he works nights, and then now this comes in, but does he gotta move then for peace or?
So if it's becoming a nuisance, then it doesn't fit in the permitted use. So noise is considered a nuisance or odor. But a lot of that would be looking at the zoning code and how we could amend the zoning code. If that's something we don't want to allow in the C4 commercial district, including something with a mixed use, that we can certainly amend the zoning code and bring that in front of planning and
Probably not a
zoning.
bad idea.
That might be a more appropriate placement for those concerns. I mean, I think the nuisance part would still stay in there because that's a good,
So would
because
they-
it can be a
Would
nuisance.
they have to, we can only have maximum 4 dogs, 4 cats?
Still
That would-
remains the same.
Okay.
Unless, I think it's under the foster one, they would ask permission to have more. I don't know. Let me check to see if I put that in there. Because they would need approval. Yep, it says written approval to house abandoned or lost animals on behalf of an organization. So they would need to get approved to be a foster house, to have more than.
Okay.
And actually quite a few cities have that provision now. I would say that's more of a newer trend.
What is that building? What is the building across street currently zoned as?
C4, right?
C4.
Correct, Amanda?
Because that's commercial, but there is residential or there's residents there. That's why I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I want to make sure I don't get hoodwinked into doing something that makes it seem punitive for the people that were here earlier tonight, I mean, if there's a fair shake to be given, I want to make sure that we're not.
This wouldn't really change any of that. That would be more if there was something that changed on the zoning code as to that.
I think
Which
that
certainly can be
ordinance-
amended. Oh,
I
sorry, Amanda.
apologize. I think that ordinance kind of gives us, gives a better outline, a better detailed kind of plan of what we need to expect as the city and what they can expect from the city. Because right now, as Kendra had mentioned multiple times tonight, the kennel, or not the kennel, the rescue and stuff is not a permitted use. And we really don't have any guidelines for that right now. So we are kind of relying very heavily on Kendra for guidance through the Planning and Zoning Commission and for you guys and for myself. So this ordinance kind of gives that, but in the nuisance part, if the upstairs neighbors that live there are bothered and they file the complaint, myself and the chief would do one of our joint visits to wherever we need to, like we've done in the past in other instances, to remedy those things. So.
And I think that's the right way. I mean, don't condemn them until you need to, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, just like other businesses, there'd be a compliance plan.
Right. And
Yep.
it works really well, the chief and I, when we go and talk so that they know from the city what is expected and what's not going to be allowed.
Move to approve the first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ty. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach, what'd he say?
Aye.
Oh, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the backflow prevention ordinance.
This was originally brought up to me by Curtis, who received a call from the state department. Now I forget, the environmental quality had contacted him originally about a month ago. They're very good to work with. They're very helpful, and I made a call on both Curtis and I have talked to them on this. This is something new. This is a model ordinance. I have taken it exactly how they've written it and recommend for it to be written. This is really to protect customers' water supply systems within a city and allow the city to have a means to enforce that backflow and to ensure that we're providing quality connections as well as safe connections of water. At this point in time, this is really applicable from what's been adopted in North Dakota state law and what's now they're trying to get cities to adopt is more so to commercial buildings. This and multi-unit residential buildings. This doesn't apply to single-family homes. They're not at that point yet with how they're adopting it on the state level. So we'd be asking to adopt this. This is exactly how the state has set it up and what they recommend. What will be coming after this is adopted as we'll be having Ward Hybrider come in. He is the representative on this program. All cities will have a minimum program that they need to meet regarding backflow. And then there's a step above that where we can actually start implementing backflow control program with the city and have someone trained from Public Works. We're able to be reimbursed for our training on that because of the size of the city of Stanley, where we'll be able to train and monitor backflow as well as they'll be able to get credits to be trained in that. It just is to protect our water supply. And we will have assistance from the state in implementing this. This isn't meant to penalize the city in any sort of way.
This relates to everybody that has a well, correct?
I don't know if it's necessarily to a well. These are just connections to,
An outside source of water other than the city.
it is for the city's water system, but not single family homes.
But, and I guess that's where I would kind of differ from the state law. I think it should be something that should be on individual dwellings also. If you have a well plumbed into your house, to where you can turn one valve and you can put that water back into our system, which you can. That's that cross contamination that Kendra is referring to. So like when you put a sprinkler system into your yard, you are supposed to have a backflow preventer just so that whatever's in your ground can't flow back into the city's water system. Just
So-
from your fertilizer that you put on your grass or your weed killer or whatever. I mean, I would encourage, if you have a well, an active well on your property, you have to have a backflow preventer on it.
And I
So,
think
like,
that
we
should
just-
be in this.
Yeah, and we just hooked up rural water out at the farm, and if I were to plumb that over to my watershed where we water our cattle from, I have to have a backflow preventer. on
And
well.
that's part of R&T's rules. I mean, we deal with this all the time. The other thing with this, like commercials, say you're filling your spray truck down at Cenex. If something happened and you got a backflow out of that spray truck that's maybe had a tank mixed in there, I mean, there's one commercial spot I can think of right now that, and they've maybe already got one, but,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, this is one ordinance, I guess, that I encourage to pass unanimously.
Okay.
immediately.
is there a second? You're approving the first reading?
Yes, yeah, we'll go with that.
Is that with the modifications you and Chad were talking about?
I would want to make sure that we have the ability to control that under, I would need to read the state law in case that's not,
Second, the first reading.
we're
then.
limited in this.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. Gaming permits, we got one from the Park District for a calendar. Gonna run next spring. We got one from the Stanley Animal Rescue Group for raffles, various donated prizes.
Motion to approve both.
Okay, there's a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Year-end transfers. I think there's a list here from Lynn.
I did provide you with a revised one. There was a few things I had to check into that I wasn't able to before I sent out the packets on Friday. So initially, when the District 36, which was our citywide water and sewer improvement, was done, and obviously that was financed through the USDA, the Rural Developmental Department. there was requirements that we had to create two separate funds, which was an emergency extension and an asset management one. Now that we have refinanced District 36, we are no longer obligated to have to fund these two accounts. So we will be able to transfer these back into, because the funds originally came from our water operating account. So obviously you'll see the first one, which is the overage in the EDC. And then the 44,508 from that emergency extension to the water operating, 54,215.51 from the asset management, 80,000 from the general to the municipal highway fund. And then, of course, the 20%, the city's 20% from the general to the District 36, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43, and 47. And as we budgeted, the 750,000 from the general to the Stanley Fund / infrastructure.
Questions? So that District 36, there's like 100 and some thousand in that account.
Okay, we still have to keep that original fund.
Okay.
Because we're still paying on that and there's still special assessments.
Okay.
But these two additional accounts that were required to be created, we no longer have to put funds in those, so we can actually transfer that money and close these out.
Okay.
We do the whole thing at one time?
I'd say yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2021 year-end transfers.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chad. Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. 2022 salaries.
We just need to approve this?
Yep, just need to approve the,
Motion to approve 2022 salaries.
Second.
Second by Linda. Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Next on the agenda, pledge securities, and this is from Bavera, and this is just kind of a standard.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Employment Committee.
We met a couple of weeks ago. We had a couple of employees that are not going to be able to use all of their personal days just due to a lot of the COVID quarantine stuff that had kind of carried over. We had a lot of discussion. We would make the recommendation to give them a one-time carryover of their personal leave that was left over from 2021 into 2022. And that is my motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. Any discussion?
Yeah, it wasn't clearly stated too that they needed to
Use it.
make all attempts at getting it used up this year so that we're
Yep.
not continually carrying it.
Right,
one
this
year to
is,
the next
Yep.
Above, so.
okay. Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried.
We had a discussion on performance bonus, discussed it for a while, and we made the recommendation to give $300 to full-time employees and $150 to part-time employees, and that would be my motion.
I'll
there-
second that.
Second by Linda. Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried.
The other items that we discussed are not things that I believe need any council action. There had been talk of a pay suggestion chart. We're going to keep working on that. And From the last council meeting, we had some stuff at the handbook that I thought that we had to look at, but Lynn basically emailed it out to us and it was in there. So it wasn't anything that we needed to address, and that's what we covered.
Okay, thank you. P and Z and special assessment appointments.
Okay, so for planning and zoning, beginning January 1st, we'd have to reappoint Todd Heidbreder, and that would be a 5-year term. And then for the special assessment, I did speak to Jacob Carpenter. He said he would do another term. Of course, that would take effect January, which would be a 3-year term.
They're both in agreement?
Yes.
Jacob. Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Jacob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Police report.
Mayor and council, I'll try and be short here. The police committee met with a gentleman by the name of Dylan Thomas. And we would look at recommending hiring him at a starting salary of $50,000, being he's an experienced officer that has been working with 6 months probation.
He was a very good interview. I mean, I'd sit in on it, obviously. He's very qualified. He's interested in getting more qualifications. I think he's going to be quite an asset to the city, and I would motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. And
Comes out of Wishick.
He's,
so if anybody was here for that special meeting, he was the guy that really
mountain.
tall that had a suit on.
Yep.
Yeah. That was
He's
with Chris that day.
very eager. He's got a lot of qualifications already, and there's a lot of stuff that he's interested in working towards, so.
Okay, call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Motion carried.
and he'll be starting here in January, and so
Okay.
he'll be moving into the housing and dealing with that, like I said before, with the K-9, that we'd still have one position to fill so we can continually easily float our K-9 officers. So we'll continue on with interviewing people as they apply, so. The second thing, the patrol car in the bills, it was received, so they're working at installing everything into the vehicle. I borrowed a radio from the city because the one I ordered hasn't shown up, so we'll be sending off the other items that to be put into it, and we should have the K-9 patrol car, they'll deliver it when it's done in January, so.
Okay.
And I guess committee, we had a discussion, I've been contacted by various people dealing with the sex offender registration. Previously, all we would publish was the high-risk offenders, and discussing it with the sheriff, we're gonna look at utilizing their policy that they even publish the medium risk, and if they have no status with the state yet, and they aren't, don't have a high, low, or medium risk level set until the state set ones, when they originally apply, then we would also publish them in their residence, so to keep the general public informed, so,
So where would you publish it? In the promoter?
in the promoter.
Okay.
And the high-risk people, what we've done before is posted it around town in the businesses and stuff as far as the high risk, so.
Well, I know a lot of people mentioned that they'd like to be informed more.
Yep.
So, in keeping it short, that would be all I have at this time.
Motion to approve the police report?
So, second.
Dave, second by
Thanks,
Jacob.
Chris.
I
All in
just
favor,
got
say-
one question.
Oh,
How we doing on tagging trailers and cars that have been sitting in the plows going around?
We'll kick it into high gear, tomorrow for sure with getting the ones that are sitting out there. So we get the trailers, the unlicensed vehicles, campers and anything that are still left out there on the street. So the road crew, Public Works does not have to go around them, so.
That's a repeat offender down here.
Yep.
Big fifth wheel.
okay.
I just pointed.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the police report. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Public Works report, Zach was gonna do this, but, in your packet, there's, some estimates for loader tires, and that's one of the payloaders, one of the older ones. And, one of the tires has a plug in it that looks like it's been in there a while. The one on the other side, and I looked at them today, the one on the other side is cut on the sidewall pretty good. The tires are at least 50% wore out. The other two payloaders, the tires are really good. The maintainer is really good.
Move to accept Dakota Trucks bid.
Okay,
Second.
And I'd be willing to save the city $100, I would dispose of the tires for them.
Okay.
Coming to Stanley to put the tires on.
okay. If you want to mention that,
feed
That-
bugs.
we'll take the tires.
Okay, motion
Yeah, you
was
can make feeders out of them.
by Chad and second by you. Okay.
We should probably have a roll call, being we're spending money.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
I,
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Motion carried. Auditor updates.
Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so you do see there was a few things I provided to you. Obviously, you'll see that the email from Whiting in regards to donating 50,000 to the city for the walking path. I have provided some documentation to the gal. I haven't had any further communication. So I guess I wanted to make the council aware of it at this point, and once we do, I'm guessing you would like us to send a thank you, or I don't
Right,
know.
and probably if they want a picture, Chad, or,
Yeah, they probably would.
Yep.
We'll set something up. and-
Okay.
for it's up there.
they were thinking of donating to the vehicle. Well, it
Yeah.
don't matter which one they donate to,
I guess to
because,
explain a little bit, the ideas and the plans of Whiting kind of morphed a little bit and went from those type of deals, whether it's been the dog or the car or something like that, along this path to where it's health and wellness was the encouragement for why we qualify for the walking path. It's all tied back to this dang thing that we call COVID, and it's just the direction that we wanted to go on this time around. So
well, and
that's why it changed. It wasn't because I didn't think one project was good or one was more worthy. It was just
no, it's as good a cause as anything, and what,
50,000 less our taxpayers have to pay.
right, and what we would have been short in the walking trail fund, what it's gonna cost us, it's gonna about clear it out now, so, yeah, so Mary, you'll take care of making sure they get public recognition when it comes through? Okay,
Next thing would be, I received an email from Steph Papa with the county. They are asking to utilize City Hall for voting for the primary and the general election in 2022. Do need council approval to, I guess the only thing I can say is, and I briefly did discuss this with Joan, that obviously election is usually on the second Tuesday. So I guess,
Oh,
we just have to make sure that we get this shut probably before our meeting, and then they can finish doing what they need to do, but
so the
that shouldn't,
polls close at 7 usually, or 8?
I believe it's at 7.
I think we can facilitate it.
Well, yeah, I mean, why not? Let's show off our building. Well, we need a motion to,
Motion to approve to allow them to use our building.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ty. Any further discussion? We'll leave it up to you, Lynn, to work everything out.
Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
okay, the next thing you'll see, I have copies of the R&R tree service bills included in the packet, and I guess just a question on how this is gonna be handled, because obviously some of these trees were approved to be cut down are part of the capital improvement project. Are these is this supposed to be taken out of those projects? Or is the city just going to cover these funds?
What was the total?
Um,
$9,000?
They were supposed to have kept them separate.
yep, so the one,
Well, it was 6,000
Yep.
for the,
6,000.
would be simpler if we just paid it
I
and
think we
be
can
done
just
with
pay
it.
that. Do you need a motion? Just pay it out of
Probably.
like general or whatever? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Chad. Call the roll.
Jake?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Chad?
Motion carried.
Sorry, I had quite a bit more this time, but so the last thing I have, which I provided to you there, it's an email from Kylie Merkel with the Bank of North Dakota. So this is just kind of in regards to the loan we have been approved for as part of the capital improvement project. So obviously you can see they kind of had some concerns about how we were going to structure this and how payments would be provided to them. So you'll also see that I included a sheet that kind of gives you a layout of the entire project. You should have one. Okay. So just kind of laying it out, you can kind of see what the committed revenues are. So obviously we still, which I also included a sheet showing what's remaining of the surge funds. Because I have been informed that we cannot use any water or sewer revenue to cover any of the street portion, except for what is actually covered under the SRF funds. And from my discussion with Evan Wall from North Dakota Department of Environmental Quality, he said that only covers, he said, normally between 8 and 10 feet, which is kind of or more or less the size of the trench where water and sewer would go, would cover the street portion. So any place that there is not any water or sewer, and obviously outside of the trench area, would have to be paid with separate revenues. So what we're kind of looking at is obviously the total street project estimate, off the contract. And, construction contingencies, legal bond would be about, $4,339,080. And if we kind of, based on those committed revenues, so So we're probably looking at what we need for the city's share of the street would be about, a little over 3 million. And that's, but if then that's deducting off the special assessments. With the special assessment and the city funds. So actually the city funds would be about 1.2. So I have spoken to Kylie. I told her we possibly would not need to have the entire 3 million. And she said, that's fine. We could revise the application. So I guess I'm just kind of trying to look for direction from the council if you're okay with kind of the way we have these committed revenues laid out. Applying that to the project. I guess just something to think about is obviously we haven't even looked at doing a phase 2 yet. But I mean, right now we're fine with funds, but I just want to make sure the city is good with that because I have to make sure I provide her proper documentation that we're going to have the funds to pay back the loan through Bank of North Dakota.
So just so I understand this better, so this is to cover the special assessment portions.
Well, you'll see there's a portion there on the very bottom for where it says payback of loans.
Uh-huh.
So obviously the street, we can't do more than 15 years. I have already been informed that with the streets, you cannot do a loan longer than 15 years. Where the water and sewer, we can do 30-year. So based on those between the districts, both districts, the water and sewer and the street, minusing off what we have secured for the loans, plus whatever committed revenue we'd already possibly discussed. So yeah, you're looking at from the city funds, about 1.2, little over 1.2 million. And then from the 25% of the special assessments at, about 1.8 million.
Essentially, all you gotta do is move the money around.
Yes,
So
that's the problem, because like I said,
If the money that you were anticipating using from the water and sewer is to pay for a portion of the street, just apply it all to the water and sewer portion of the project and then.
and
And-
that's
and
pretty
then they
much the
won't
case
care,
is
yeah.
we're just gonna have to shift some certain funds around, like we might have to directly take out of the general to put into the street fund instead of, because we can't, they're not necessarily keen on us taking it out of our sales, our Stanley fund, our sales tax, because it has a sunset date on it, which is well before the 15-year period. Because I believe it's in 24 is the next sunset date for our sales tax.
I guess it kind of a moot point, you just pay more of the water and sewer with the funds that are available and make the difference up on the street.
But, and I mean, so that's, and I guess the other thing is if the council's okay with me modifying our application to Bank of North Dakota, since we're not gonna need to borrow the full 3 million.
Do you need a motion, Lynn?
Do you have that known figure though, so that you're covered for that 10% on the backside of this, because you know that whatever they did is not gonna be what we pay.
Well, and I mean, even kind of already just even from our SFR funds, which would be the drinking water and the clean water, those are actually more than we're probably gonna need. So, I mean, and even if we decided to decrease the one for Bank of North Dakota, I'd probably go over a little what we're expecting just to cover in case there's any change orders. But I
So-
figure there's no point in applying for the full 3 million if we don't actually need it.
So if you look at the bottom, the city funds is 1.2 million needed. So I mean, even if we borrowed 1.5, we'd have a
Well,
little
that's
cushion.
kind of what I had figured.
Yeah.
So I guess I just kind of want to make sure the council was okay with that. I mean, obviously, we've been applied, we're already approved, but she said we could modify the application.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hellman. Any further discussion? Yeah, the sales tax is 2026 on the
Oh,
sheet.
26, sorry.
Yeah. But it's still less than
And that's where
15
their
years.
concern came in.
Yeah.
So
Okay, call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. That's it? Okay. Attorney updates, any?
I'll keep it brief for right now. There will likely be another dangerous building non-compliance that will be coming your way for next month's meeting from Amanda. So just to be heads up on that.
Okay. Council concerns. Jacob, you've been so quiet today that been worried about you.
I don't have anything. I did notice that the city provided a plant at my grandmother's funeral and I appreciated that. So thank you.
Zach, you got any concerns?
I don't have too much. We are kind of tracking how infrastructure funds could possibly come through the SRF programs. There's kind of some rumors that maybe the loan forgiveness that has always been part of those programs might increase substantially. There's always been a loan forgiveness part of them, but it's been such a small amount unless you're the very most highest priority project. You don't have a chance of getting it, but there's a chance some of the federal money might come through those programs. So now there's not a whole lot of information available, and we really don't know where we're at in that either approval or application process. It's best to be in order to get those funds, but we'll find more information out in the next couple months, I'm sure. Only real also concern, did hear that there's another daycare closing, which days is not good to hear, but
Right.
what I've got.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Ty?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Linda?
Nope, I'm good.
Davis?
After everything we've seen and heard this evening, I'd like to thank Kendra and Amanda for everything they did, because y'all pretty much have fingerprints on everything in this stack of paper here. So, thanks.
Chad?
How many chicken coops do we have in town?
Well, one less than I thought. I didn't think we had any, but no, but if you see them, do you let them know?
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if I get calls, I let them know.
Like when I spotted the chickens in Ryan Edition a couple of years ago? Yeah.
No, I let the chief know, they took care of it.
And these people have been in town since last spring and, well, we didn't know there was an ordinance. I don't know how you can't publish ordinance book in the paper every week. Mary would love it, but.
I guess my question is, did they get the fine then? Because the
it's
truck
Chris.
driver doesn't always know there's an ordinance either.
I'm sorry, I do have
Yes,
another.
they did.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
This is the chief back there.
I was hoping. he was
Yes,
gonna do that.
the next day he went over there.
So Chris was going over there.
He did.
Did he cite him?
Yep.
Okay. And they should be. I mean, we got one more attorney thing here.
I apologize. I didn't. Sorry, Chad, was that your only concern? Or do you need? Okay.
I just wanted, because I wanted to, that's expensive. There was 14 guys that went to work that day to
Yep.
go put that fire out. That didn't need to happen.
Well, and if it had been a windy day, there was a shed next to it and a house next to that. I mean, it could have been a mess.
Yeah.
And
But
trees
plus
behind
it's the
it.
danger of fighting fire.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, I got a phone call from one of the neighbors.
Mhm. Kendra?
Okay, I'll try to keep this brief, but I would like input, I guess, from the council members because it deals with our truck route ordinance. I guess I'm when I prosecute cases like these where people have been cited for truck route violation, I usually get a phone call on the citation from them. And I know there are 2 that are coming up next month where the reasoning is that they missed the entrance to a hotel. They were staying overnight at the hotel, circled around the lot, and then were trying to get in it. By the time they were issued citations, they were not on the truck route. They told me from our conversation, I was able to ascertain that they were stating that they were trying to stay at the hotel. I believe it was Black Gold. So my question is the council wanting me to prosecute or to push forward on citations like that? Or are we seeking, I guess, is that something that you would like me to press forward in prosecuting, or something that is more that you prefer they get a warning for if they're going to stay at one of those hotels? I just would like some input as to, I guess, seeking. It's a violation in my
Chris, you
view, but
got
I just would seek
Comments on
input.
that?
Excuse me, I guess, didn't realize it at the time, but on the big sign, they came up from Cenex. And there was no sign where they turned. They were going to Microtel. So they turned on the 9th. Since that, we have put up a no truck sign on that post so they can see it, so.
And I don't have a problem with the citation under the circumstances, because they were not on the truck route, which is fine. But I just need to understand what the council, if you want me to move forward with prosecuting under those circumstances, or I guess if you're seeking leeway to those type of situations. I know we cannot mark every single intersection in Stanley as saying this is not the truck route, because there is a map online with the city where people can see where the truck route is at. So that's just if there's comments or guidance as to what the council would be seeking.
My personal opinion is I think everybody deserves one. I mean, if it's the same truck that keeps coming down Main Street or coming down 6th or going down 9th, and it's not an errant turn, they get I don't know what it is, $350 or $500 now, or I think it went up, whatever.
$350.
Irregardless, but I think if it's those guys, they get the ticket. But the guy that misses the turn one time and has.
How do we know it's one time?
Well,
I don't know.
I'm
The
guessing,
cat ate my
I'm
homework,
guessing the
so.
cops are gonna, the police, they know who's gonna be the frequent flyer, and
Chris, you want to come back up?
we definitely can give them guys the leeway at that point to rate that as.
We're-
Yeah,
we're-
yeah, what about the honest one? that
We're
says
talking
that's
about
not-
whether they should get one warning.
But I think his officers and himself, they have that ability to do that warning so that it doesn't have to get.
Well, I would think with your Zerker, you'll know if they've had a warning as soon as you put their name in there.
Well, I guess basically, like I say, we put up that big sign with the flashing lights, but it wasn't far enough up with Alexis. So when they came from the south, there was no way to see they shouldn't go that way, and they were following their GPS, which led them to 9th to go to Microtel. So.
I guess my question though was, do you feel it's prudent that we can be that good person that says, hey, you're not a frequent flyer sneaking through the corners to drive down Main Street or 6 or wherever. That one-off guy that just turns the corner, do we need to write the ticket? Can we just write a warning or tell them, hey, here, follow me, I'm gonna get you where you need to go. The next time I see you, though, you're gonna get a ticket. Does it need to go to Kendrick every single time? I guess the times that I feel that should, this maybe could have been one that we could have said, well, yeah, I guess there's not a sign or something there, but then the other times we stop the people or the deputies call me, hey, I got a truck stopped, and you sit there, well, yeah, I saw all these signs. I kept driving anyway, so.
And, I mean, point made, if they just blatantly ignore it and just go and they admit that, then, well, guess what? You get to go see Kendra if you don't want to. Go to
I think this is just a hard issue with that part of town, that we have 2 hotels that are over there that unfortunately to get into them, it's not exactly an easy access. Because, well, Dave, who live over there, I mean, one wrong turn and they're going straight past the residential because they don't know how to make a turn into there.
So
Go ahead.
is it better than it used to be?
Yeah, at times. It just depends on what's going on. But I've been in my front yard. A truck comes by that big sign that Ray Charles could read. And I got 2 signs that the city put up on my corner. And the truck driver will turn where it says no trucks, and I'll do like this, and he flips me off. Well, I'm about ready to bounce hammers off of windshields because it's getting old. They're tearing that street up again that goes, in front of the Microtel and the post office.
And I
It's
mean,
like driving on a wet mattress.
And I get that because I sit at my house and they miss that, they notice it when they're going by. So then they end up at my intersection and they pull into our street and then they back out across 6th so that they can hurry up and hopefully get back out of town. Well, that's worse than just getting through town and being done with it. But I mean, I just think that common sense can prevail on some of this stuff, and if they, like the sign, like you said, guy looks at it and says, there wasn't even anything here that told me I couldn't pull here.
Yep.
Well, why do we have to charge them $350 for every one of them?
Where I'm at, I mean, I kind of, I also have been a truck driver in a past life, and I've enjoyed some grace because I've accidentally missed a turn. Well, once you miss it, you're dedicated, I mean, an 18-wheeler pulling doubles, triples. I think our officers have the right heads on their shoulders to decipher, I mean, I think they have that discretion. I trust their judgment on those one calls, and I don't ever want to forbid somebody tearing up our streets, but there are times where, well, you missed your turn. Now what? It's that, I mean, can the officer's discretion kind of give us good guidance, and I trust their judgment for those calls.
In no way, shape, or form do I think that we just give them all free pass every time they come down Main Street or 6th.
That gives me enough moving forward, and I think your officers use the appropriate discretion
Yeah,
with.
and like I said, I've had some very good truckers, 3 or 4 of them that called and said, hey, I missed the truck route and how can I get by? And so we'll gladly show them how to get out of town, so.
Okay.
But thanks for your time.
That's right. I think that's the right way.
Okay, thank you. The judge's report has made its way around, I think.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Pick one, Lynn. Either Dave or Jacob.
David?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We've all got a copy of the bills. Questions?
Just one. So, sorry, yes, 2. But of course, that was the one I already addressed with you guys anyways.
Arnold.
So, just the one for Montreal Builders.
General.
I guess, whatever, city infrastructure.
Was that the water
thing that they fixed over there?
No, this is the valley gutter in front of my house caved in.
Special.
That's my address, especially. I'm already
then,
on that special
There's also the one
assessment.
over on the northwest side of Stanley Square too, though.
Yeah.
So there was two different bills.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I guess that's the one I was looking at, was the Stanley Square.
Probably the infrastructure fund.
Okay,
Motion to approve the bills.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. Call the roll.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. Okay. It's 10:28 PM. Next on the agenda is consideration to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of attorney consultation and negotiation strategy on blah, blah, blah. Is there a motion to discuss this topic in executive session?
So moved.
By Ty, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. Call the roll. Ty and Linda. Ty and Linda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Chad.
Motion carried. Motion passed and under Century Code, will now adjourn into executive session. The executive session began at 10:29 PM. It's all up to you now, Kendra. Oh. The only other item we got is to adjourn, Mary, so